Chapter 1000. Whoosh! Xiaoping and the others rushed into the sacred land and immediately felt the rich power of the five elements in the area. The five energies of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth were constantly flowing. It was as if this place had become a treasure land for cultivation. If they cultivated here, they would probably be several times faster than in ordinary places. These divine trees can not only grow five-element spirit fruits, but they can also form a sacred land for cultivation. It's truly miraculous. The three grandmasters sighed with emotion. Their hearts were very moved. If they could uproot these five divine trees and transplant them back to the human world, then humans would be rich. Unfortunately, without the nurturing of the five races, these five divine trees would not be able to survive. Interesting. Xiaoping touched his chin and looked at the five divine trees planted on the ground. They happened to be in five different directions, like a pentagram array. They emitted colorful light, which was very magical. It seemed that every branch and every leaf was filled with rich energy of the five elements. A slight breath could make people feel refreshed, and their Dantian sea of qi would tremble. Their roots were deeply rooted in the ground, and no one knew how far they extended. They only knew that the thick roots were exposed on the ground, like an earth dragon crawling on the ground. It was very oppressive. Look, those are five-element spirit fruits. Tu Linglong immediately noticed that there were 7 or 8 spirit fruits hanging on the divine tree. It was not just one divine tree. Basically, there were 7 or 8 spirit fruits on each divine tree. They were wood spirit fruit, water spirit fruit, earth spirit fruit, fire spirit fruit, and metal spirit fruit. They had an inexplicable connection with each other. It seemed that these divine trees maintained a uniform height, and the number of spirit fruits growing on them was the same. However, these spirit fruits hanging on the branches were emitting a faint white light. They looked very small, as if they were not fully ripe yet. These spirit fruits are not ripe yet. The 3 old masters immediately knew that the spirit fruits hanging on the trees were not ripe yet. Perhaps because of this, the higher-ups of the 5 races were worried that they would damage the medicinal properties of the spirit fruits, so they did not pluck them and let them grow freely. Otherwise, the mature fruits would have been plucked by the higher-ups of the 5 races and eaten by themselves. It would not have been Xiaoping's turn to pluck them. This is troublesome. Will an unripe 5-elemental spirit fruit have enough medicinal power for us to advance to the king realm? The Crow of Misfortune and the other monsters couldn't help but have the same doubts. They knew that the 5-element spirit fruit was extremely powerful, but that was only in its matured state. The difference between an unripe fruit and a ripe fruit was like the difference between heaven and earth. The problem was that they didn't have time to wait for these spirit fruits to ripen. No one knew what would happen the next time they came to this place. Perhaps they wouldn't even be able to enter at that time. Even if they were lucky enough to enter, they would be ambushed by the army and die without a burial. For a moment, they felt that they had miscalculated. Perhaps they were just doing useless things tonight. They'd only come to this holy land to visit, and they would probably have to go back soon. Not mature yet? That's not a big problem. Xiaoping's eyes flickered. He could use his life force to accelerate the ripening of these 5 divine trees and speed up the growth of the 5-element spirit fruits. However, he didn't say it out loud. He had his own plans. Intruders, it's time for you to die. How dare you invade the sacred land of our 5 great races? How audacious of you! Go to hell. No matter what your purpose is, only death awaits those who invade our holy land. All of a sudden, a loud shout came from the depths of the Holy Land. Many highest elders who had been cultivating in this holy land were awakened by the actions of Xiaoping and the others. They woke up from their closed-door cultivation one after another. These highest elders were all at the peak of the 9th stage of the supreme power realm. They were only one step away from advancing to the king realm. However, because of the suppression of the rules of this secret land, it was more difficult for them to advance to the king realm than ordinary people. If they didn't have peerless talent and consume a large number of resources, they would be trapped in the supreme power realm until they died of old age. Even so, They were a group of old men who had been immersed in the supreme power realm for hundreds of years. They had long cultivated all kinds of martial arts to a superb level, which was extremely terrifying. Oh no, there are so many old men in this place. The crow of misfortune's pupils shrank. It saw 7 or 8 old men rushing out from the depths of the Holy Land. Every old man was very powerful. Fortunately, this was a secret land, which suppressed their cultivation. If they were in the outside world, there would probably be 7 or 8 kings. Rumble. In an instant, an old black tree attacked. This was the highest elder of the Blackwood tribe. It was withered and old, and it exuded an aura of lethargy. It seemed like it had lived for hundreds of years, and its branches looked like they were about to break. However, with the support of the earth energy on its body, it was like a sharp sword. It tore through the air and attacked Xia Ping and the others. Once they were pierced, countless bloody holes would immediately appear on their bodies. It was impossible for them to survive. Get lost. Xia Ping stepped forward and kicked without even looking. An incomparably huge footprint was formed in the air. It was like a giant had descended and trampled on the ground. At this moment, he activated the power of the vortex. It had an extremely strong penetrating force and was extremely fast. It bombarded the old black tree. Bang, bang, bang. Immediately, the black branches were shattered. The air rotated and twisted crazily. The terrifying force seeped into the body of the old black tree and continuously destroyed it. Damn it! The first elder of the Blackwood tribe couldn't bear such a terrifying force. His whole body was sent flying. Hundreds of branches on his body cracked, broke, and fell to the ground. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. However, it was not red but green. It fell to the ground, making a sizzling sound and corroding the ground. A deep gully of hundreds of meters long was suddenly formed on the ground by his body. He fell to the ground, gasping for breath. Obviously, he had lost half of his life. He's too fierce. Tu Linglong and the other monsters were stunned. Xia Ping wasn't so terrifying before, but after such a short period of time, he had become even more terrifying than before. He has advanced to the 8th sky of Supreme Master. The 3 old human masters were stunned. They knew that Xia Ping was only at the 6th sky of Supreme Master before, but now he had advanced to the 8th sky of Supreme Master. It was almost like drinking water for him to break through. This freak didn't need the 5-element spirit fruit. If he cultivated by himself, it wouldn't take long for him to advance to the king realm. He was obviously a genius, but he still competed with mortals for resources. This was a bit too much. Chapter 1001. Damn it, this is the human Xia Ping who has caused such a commotion. Kill him. Let's kill him in the Holy Land. You refused to take the path to heaven and barged into hell. Today is the day you die, human. Seeing Xia Ping beat the Blackwood race's supreme elder half to death with just one move, the supreme elders of the 5 races were all shocked. They also recognized Xia Ping's appearance. Although they were usually in seclusion in the Holy Land, they were always paying attention to what was happening in their races. They knew all kinds of important information. Naturally, news of Xia Ping would also appear in front of them. This was the #1 enemy of the 5 races in recent days. In an instant, a terrifying killing intent was ignited in their hearts. They wanted to completely destroy this human who had turned the 5 races upside down. They wanted to eradicate this super scourge. Kill. The first to attack was the Drought race's supreme elder. He was like a zombie with black flames all over his body. He was covered in thick fur and revealed ferocious fangs that emitted a cold light. His hands had sharp nails that were like divine weapons. With a light slash, he could create terrifying sword chi that could cut the earth and tear apart mountains. In an instant, his entire body was like a flaming cannonball that attacked. The surrounding temperature rose rapidly. Even the air seemed to be burning. This kind of flame was the Drought demon fire. Once it touched an enemy, it could quickly evaporate the enemy's blood and turn them into a dry corpse in a few breaths. Die. The rock giant supreme elder also attacked. He was 200 to 300 meters tall and towered into the clouds. He was like a mountain, and his muscles were all made of red rocks. These were volcanic rocks that were forged from the depths of volcanoes after tens of thousands of years of molten lava. Even swords that could cut iron like mud couldn't harm his body at all. This was actually the rock giant's cultivation method. The more precious and powerful they devoured, the more they could absorb it and fuse it into their bodies, making them even stronger. Without a doubt, this rock giant supreme elder had also found a special type of rock. After devouring it, he became extremely powerful among the rock giant race. Die. The great elder of the automaton race's azure eyes flashed with an electronic light. It was cold and emotionless, as if there were countless numbers flowing through its mind, constantly calculating. It was a liquid robot, and its entire body was condensed from a special metallic liquid. It could change into different shapes, and with a clang, dozens of sharp blades immediately appeared on its body. These blades were extremely sharp, capable of slicing through iron like mud. At this moment, they vibrated at high speed, like a metal storm, attacking towards Xiaoping, wanting to completely kill this human. Not to mention a body of flesh and blood. Even a body of metal would not be able to withstand the attack of such a sharp blade. Kill. The slime great elder also took action. Its outer appearance was like a rubber ball, its entire body formed from a green liquid. It was like a gelatinous substance, full of elasticity, able to change into all types of shapes. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a green viper and shot out from its original location. It reached several times the speed of sound and opened its sharp fangs to pierce through Xiaoping's body. In midair, only a green light shot out. Ordinary grandmasters could not react in time. These 7 great elders attacked at the same time with infinite power. The crow of misfortune and the other monsters all felt their hair stand on end. They felt that they were facing a desperate situation and could not resist at all. It could be said that even if a cultivator at the peak of the 9th heaven of the Supreme Realm was at the same level as these great elders who had lived for hundreds of years, there was still a huge gap between them. It could be said that they had already stepped into the Half-Step King realm and had a trace of opening up the Purple Palace. Fireball bomb. Xiaoping's eyes were calm. He turned his hand, and the 99 acupoints in his body trembled. The majestic flame energy all gathered on his right hand, quickly condensing into a black fireball, like a whirlpool slowly rotating. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Without looking, he threw out the black fireballs one by one. In just a few breaths, dozens of black fireballs appeared in midair. These black fireballs were the size of rubber balls, covering the sky and covering the earth. They kept rotating, almost occupying the sky, blocking all the way out of the 7 great elders. Explode. Xiaoping clenched his hand and immediately detonated these fireball bombs. Suddenly, an earth-shattering power burst out, like a miniature nuclear bomb exploding, spreading for several miles. When the monsters around saw this, they all dodged in advance. They had seen the horror of the fireball bomb. When Xiaoping had just entered the Supreme Power Realm, such a fireball bomb was enough to kill a group of Supreme Power Realm Masters. Now that Xiaoping had been promoted to the 8th heaven of the Supreme Realm, he also had the essence of the sun, the fire of life, and the earth's spirit fire. He had also cultivated the sun god Fist, which had increased the power of the fire to an unprecedented level. Therefore, when such fireball bombs exploded, they burst out with a destructive power that swept across the area. In just an instant, a huge pit with a diameter of hundreds of meters immediately exploded on the ground. The soil splashed, and the air condensed into a substance, sweeping in all directions like wind blades. There were also hundreds of shocking cracks on the ground, which was extremely terrifying. The 7 great elders who bore the brunt of the attack immediately let out a shrill scream. First, the 2 great elders of the Drought Demon clan were completely burnt black, like a piece of coal. They were blown thousands of meters away by the power of the explosion, and finally smashed on a huge rock, falling to the ground. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. The 2 great elders of the Machine Clan were also blown up, and dazzling sparks burst out from the broken parts, as if there was a mechanical failure. The extremely hot flames were still burning on their bodies, melting a lot of steel. The two great elders of the rock giant were also in an extremely miserable state. Originally, their extremely hard bodies were made of volcanic stones, and ordinary lava could do nothing to them. However, under the might of the three worldly flames, they were unable to withstand it. The rocks were scorched until they cracked and crackled. There were even some parts of them that were melted into magma. Panting heavily, they were already heavily injured. As for the great elder of the slime, his whole body had been blown to pieces, turning into a mass of liquid that was distributed in every corner of the ground. But he was still alive. It seemed that under the guidance of a certain core, this body also quickly gathered together and returned to its original state. Compared to the other great elders, his situation was undoubtedly the best. He's still alive. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He saw that the great elder of the slime was a little unusual. This body was like an immortal body, which was the biggest trouble. He could not be killed by ordinary means. Even if he was blown to pieces, he could quickly gather together, which was indeed amazing. He deserved to be one of the races in the universe. Chapter 1002. At this moment, outside the Holy Land, many guards of the 5 clans stood still. They watched in horror as 7 or 8 supreme elders were half-crippled. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. After all, they were the strongest guards in the city. Each of them could fight against 10 people, but now they couldn't even defeat a single person. This was too exaggerated. How could this be? This is a supreme elder who has lived for hundreds of years and can be said to be a half-step King Realm expert. He's a powerful existence, second only to the Patriarch. But now he's actually been beaten to such a state by a little human. A Drought Demon Clan guard couldn't believe his eyes. He felt that his worldview had been overturned. If Xiaoping was a king, he wouldn't be surprised that the Supreme Elder was defeated. However, Xiaoping was only at the 8th heaven of the Supreme Realm, and he was no match for the Supreme Elder. Where are the reinforcements? Where are our reinforcements? Why haven't they come out when they heard the bell for help? Are they waiting for these invaders to pick all our holy fruits before coming out? A rock giant guard shouted. Currently, there were only a few of them, and they couldn't form a large force at all. If they swarmed over, they would definitely be beaten to death. After all, even 8 supreme elders have been killed by a single person. Even if they went up, it would be useless. It was no different from courting death. They've all been called out by the elders. It's said that they plan to besiege the human Xiaoping. Besiege my ass. The human has come to our city, and he still plans to besiege us? Are they planning to besiege the air? Is there something wrong with their heads? They've been tricked by that human, and that's why our city guards are empty. Where's the Patriarch? Where's the Patriarch? With the Patriarch's help, these invaders will definitely die. Yes, the Patriarch is an expert at the King Realm. Once these invaders encounter him, they'll definitely die without a burial place. The Patriarch and the others have gone to build the ancestral altar a long time ago. It's an important moment now, and they have to keep an eye on it at all times. How can they have the time to come back here? Even if we inform the Patriarch and the others now, distant water can't quench the present thirst. Damn it, can we only watch this bastard human do whatever he wants? Many of the guards gnashed their teeth in anger. To them, this was simply an enormous humiliation. Their sacred territory had been stepped into by these intruders, and they'd even trampled on it as they pleased. Moreover, they'd even beaten their supreme elder half to death. It had been many years since they had suffered such a great loss. However, the difference in combat power between the two sides was too great. Even if they wanted to drive these invaders out, they were powerless. They could only look on helplessly, not daring to act rashly. Great! All of a sudden, a Drought Demon Tribe guard's face lit up with joy. He seemed to have sensed something and shouted, "Our Drought Demon Tribe's Patriarch is coming back. He's nearby. I can sense his aura." The members of the Drought Devil Tribe all had a unique connection with each other. That was especially true of the tribe leader. As long as they were within a 50-kilometer radius of the leader, they would be able to communicate with each other. That was the stirring of their bloodlines. What's going on? Wasn't it said that the patriarchs and the others were all constructing the ancestral altar? A guard asked. The drought demon tribe guard shook his head. I don't know. Perhaps the patriarch suddenly came back for something. In any case, now that the patriarch is back, these invaders are dead for sure. He was extremely excited, as if he could already see these despicable invaders being annihilated by the patriarch. Roar! At that moment, an earth-shattering roar came from a 50-kilometer away. It was like the roar of a ferocious beast in the forest. It contained terrifying sound waves that spread in all directions, affecting the entire city. All living beings who heard this sound unconsciously shuddered, as if they had fallen into an icy cavern. It was as if they had encountered an undefeatable existence. This was the rage of a king. When a common man raged, blood would splatter everywhere. When a king raged, corpses would lie for thousands of kilometers. At that moment, the crow of misfortune and the other monsters in the sacred land heard this sound as well. They instantly felt a terrifying sense of danger, as if they had been targeted by the god of death. Oh no, a king is coming. The green one's expression changed. Her divine beast bloodline gave her an extremely strong sense of danger. She immediately knew that an almost undefeatable enemy was coming. Damn it, why are they back so quickly? Didn't they say that these kings were building the ancestral altar? Anyway, something must have happened, and one of the kings came back. We can't stay here any longer. We need to escape. Otherwise, if we are caught by the kings, we will definitely die. But what about the 5 elements spiritual fruit? We went through so much to get here. Are we going to give it up? We can only give it up for now. After all, the 5 elements spiritual fruit isn't ripe yet. There's no point in picking it. Yeah, our lives are more important. We can't stay here and waste time. Otherwise, we won't get the 5 elements spiritual fruit and we'll die in the hands of King. Instantly, the crow of misfortune and the other monsters' expressions changed drastically. They also felt a great sense of danger. If they continued to stay here, they would definitely be killed by the angry king. Xiaoping also felt the oppressive feeling coming from this voice. That voice belonged to a powerful cultivator who had opened up the Purple Palace and was above mortals. Even if they were merely cannon fodder in the universe, but in this secret realm, they could be said to be invincible. Whoosh! At this moment, the great slime elder made a move. The strange liquid on its body condensed into dozens of tentacles. Like ropes, it immediately tied up the many great elders who were dying on the ground. In the next second, its entire body shot out of the sacred ground like a cannonball. It also carried the heavily injured supreme elders with it, as it ran faster than a rabbit. It didn't even look back, for fear of being caught by Xiaoping and dying a graveless death. However, Xiaoping didn't care about it or chase after it. He just watched the great elders escape. With such serious injuries, they probably wouldn't be able to recover within 3 months. They wouldn't be able to pose any threat in a short time. He stood with his hand behind his back and looked at Tu Linglong and the other monsters. You guys run. I'll cover the rear. What? The 3 old human masters, Tu Linglong, and the other monsters all looked at Xiaoping with their mouths agape. It seemed like they couldn't believe their ears. What are you talking about? You'll cover the rear? Are you kidding me? They all felt that the world was coming to an end. This shameless bastard who specialized in harming others for his own benefit actually said that he would cover the rear. If the world wasn't coming to an end, how could this happen? I'm not kidding. I just want to test the strength of a King Realm expert. There are too few opportunities like this. I want to test the strength of the other party. Xiaoping clenched his fists and was eager to have a try. His current strength could be said to be invincible in the Grandmaster realm. Ordinary cultivators at the 9th level of the Grandmaster realm would be blown up by his punch. However, he still didn't know how much difference there was between him and a cultivator at the Purple Mansion realm. Chapter 1003. Do you want to test the strength of a king warrior? Tu Linglong and the other monsters looked at Xiaoping as if he was a madman. Ordinary masters would tremble in fear when facing a king warrior, not daring to fight back at all. Because the gap between them was too big, it was like the gap between heaven and earth. A king realm expert could kill a large number of Supreme Power Masters effortlessly, but now this guy actually said that he wanted to weigh the strength of a King Realm expert. Did this bastard think that he was qualified to compete with a King Realm expert just because he had advanced to the 8th heaven of the Supreme Power Realm? If the person in front of them was a demon like Xia Ping, but someone else, they really wanted to cut off that person's head to see if it was full of paste. Xia Ping, don't be impulsive. That's a king warrior. You can't fight him. Yes, you can test the strength of a king warrior. When you return to the human world, you could try it with a human king warrior, but not now. The king warrior will really kill you. That's right. Don't be careless. You only have one life. The 3 human old masters tried their best to dissuade him. They felt that it was a pity for such a good seedling to die in this place. They couldn't let him die in the hands of a king warrior. Senior, don't worry. I have my own plans. Even if I can't beat a king warrior, I have a way to escape. I'm not going to die. Xia Ping smiled slightly. He had a way to escape from a king warrior. Not to mention the many treasures on him. Just the spatial ring on him alone would allow him to hide in the spatial ring if he really couldn't defeat a king. He believed that no matter how powerful the Monster King was, he wouldn't be able to find out that he was hiding in the space ring. It could be said that he was in an invincible position and wouldn't be killed by a king warrior. Of course, the most important thing was that he wanted to send this group of people away. If these monsters and the 3 human old masters stayed in this place, how could he steal the 5 sacred trees silently? After all, the information about his space ring couldn't be leaked. It had to be kept secret. Hearing Xia Ping's words, the 3 human old masters nodded in agreement. If it was a demon like Xia Ping, he indeed had endless means. If he just wanted to escape, it was estimated that even a king warrior might not be able to kill this slippery loach. Tu Ling Long and the other monsters felt the same way. In terms of life-saving means, it was possible that no monster present could compare to this shameless human. Then we'll be leaving. In any case, you have to be careful. If you find anything amiss, quickly escape. Yeah, don't die here. You have a bright future ahead of you. The 3 grandmasters cupped their hands towards Xia Ping. They were also decisive people. Once they made a decision, there would be no hesitation. After all, a king-tier expert could arrive at any moment. If they were to delay for even a moment, they would most likely face a life-and-death situation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3 human grandmasters, Tu Ling Long, and the other demons fled towards the outside of the sacred ground to escape from this dangerous situation. Have they all left? Xia Ping's mental power spread out, sensing a radius of several dozen kilometers. Not even the slightest movement could escape his perception. Sure enough, there were no longer any living beings in the surroundings. All right, let's begin. Since there was no one around to hinder him, Xia Ping began to let loose. He came before the 5 sacred trees and circulated the energy of the flame of life within his body. Boom! In the next second, wisps of green flames emerged and instantly seeped into the bodies of the 5 sacred trees. Majestic life energy was instilled into them. Immediately, the 5 sacred trees emitted circles of green light and emitted a threatening green color. Their majestic life energy caused the weeds on the ground to grow crazily. Some seeds that were originally buried in the soil also sprouted and blossomed rapidly, saving a lot of time for growth. Rustle, with the replenishment of the flame of life, the 5 sacred trees also started to tremble slightly. Majestic energy was also instilled into the depths of the 5-element spirit fruits along the veins of the trees. Very quickly, they grew rapidly like balloons. Originally, they were only the size of a walnut, but within a few breaths, they had actually grown to the size of a fist. At the same time, they emitted a 5-colored light. It's a success. Xia Ping's eyes were filled with excitement. He knew that his guess was indeed correct. The flame of life could promote the growth of all things in the world, including the 5-element spirit trees. Moreover, the 5-element spirit fruits that were still in a state of immaturity were now ripened by him. As long as he consumed these 5-element spirit fruits, he might be able to break through to the king tier. Mine, they're all mine. Xiaoping picked all the 5 elements spirit fruits on the branches and put them into his spatial ring. He really wanted to consume the 5 elements spirit fruits right now, but the king tier enemies were about to arrive. If he went into seclusion now, it would simply be no different from courting death. Huh? What is this? As the flame of life seeped into the depths of the 5 element spirit trees, Xiaoping's mental power also seeped in at the same time. He immediately sensed that there was a huge discovery in the depths of the 5 element spirit trees. There seemed to be a unique space, and this space was filled with darkness everywhere, just like a world of nothingness. However, in the middle of this space, there were floating spheres. Some were red fireballs, some were green spheres exuding a green aura of life, some were yellow spheres, some were golden spheres, and some were blue spheres. These spheres were all emitting a faint radiance. At this time, Corinne's voice came. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the seed of life of the 5 elements spirit trees. Seed of life. Xiaoping blinked his eyes and looked at Corinne. Yes, it's the seed of life. Corinne said in a deep voice, heaven and earth wondrous trees like this will definitely condense the seed of life. The so-called seed of life is the essence of these wondrous trees, which is equivalent to a seed. If they encounter a great danger or encounter a survival crisis, they will turn into the seed of life and fall into a deep sleep. Only when they find a suitable environment for survival will they wake up again. It can be said that as long as the seed of life exists, they will continue to regenerate and will not go extinct. Xiaoping's eyes flickered. He understood Corinne's meaning. In other words, if I take these 5 seeds of life, I can take away the 5 element spirit trees. I don't need to take away the whole tree. Yes, the so-called trunk, roots, branches, leaves, and so on are just skin. Only the seed of life is their most important thing. Corinne nodded. As long as I take away the seed of life, I can transplant the 5 element spirit trees anywhere. Very good. Xiaoping moved, and with a bang, he immediately pierced through the trunk of the 5 element spirit tree and directly entered the inner space. He took out the seed of life inside and put it in his spatial ring. Chapter 1004. At this moment, in the temporary camp, the elders of the 5 races had gathered together. They had already waited for several hours, and it was almost daybreak, but Xiaoping and the others still hadn't appeared. What's going on? When did that son of a TCH attack? It's almost daybreak. Do they have any professional ethics? The drought monkey elder gritted his teeth. They had already waited for an entire night, and they were completely focused on any movement outside. Even the slightest movement would cause their nerves to tense up, ready to fight at any time. One could imagine how tiring it was to be on guard like this, and who knew how many cells had died. If it wasn't for the fact that they were worried that the human would attack at any time, they would have already fallen asleep. However, the human didn't seem to have any intention of attacking at all. Up until now, everything had been calm, as if nothing had happened. It was too strange. Could it be that that bastard isn't going to attack tonight? Did we remember the wrong date? The slime elder raised his doubt, wondering if that brat wasn't going to attack tonight. Impossible. The machinery elder firmly denied. You know what happened that day? That spy said that he would attack in 3 days, and tonight is the 3rd night. How could it be wrong? It had a considerable degree of confidence in its memory. But why hasn't that bastard appeared yet? Isn't he afraid that all his human friends will die? If he angers us, we'll slaughter them tonight. The Blackwood elder gritted his teeth, and his killing intent surged. He felt that after meeting that bastard human Xiaoping, his temper had become irritable, and he had vented his anger countless times. That's right. I also feel that this matter is very strange. I have a bad feeling about it. The rock giant nodded. For some reason, he felt a trace of palpitation in his heart, as if something earth-shattering was about to happen. However, after thinking about it carefully, it didn't seem like anything big would happen. Report. Just at this moment, a loud noise came from outside. A dozen rock giant scouts rushed to the camp without stopping. They were burning with anxiety and immediately barged into the temporary camp headquarters. What's going on? The rock giant elder immediately recognized these rock giant scouts. They were clearly the guards of the rock giant's nest. They should be quietly guarding the city, so why would they appear here? The other elders also recognized the identity of these spies. In an instant, they all knew that something big must have happened. Reporting to Elder, please return as soon as possible. That human Xiaoping has led a large group of people to attack our headquarters and infiltrate the Holy Lands in an attempt to snatch the holy fruits. The situation is extremely dangerous. The rock giant scout shouted. What? All the elders present were shocked. They couldn't believe what they had just heard. Weren't this human and his companions waiting outside, waiting to flatten their temporary camp in the early hours of the morning? Why did they suddenly come to their lair and even plan to enter their holy land to snatch the holy fruit? Is this news true? The mechanical race elder clenched his fists and stared at this scout. It's true. Right now, our headquarters is almost unguarded. It said that even the Grand Elder couldn't resist and was beaten half to death by that human. Many of our brothers suffered heavy casualties. The rock giant scout said with tears and snot, "You don't know how cruel those humans and monsters are. They smash and loot, treating this place as if it's their home. They fight whenever they see a monster and steal whenever they see something good. If we don't go back now, our city will probably be completely destroyed by these demons. Even the holy fruits will be taken away by them. Not a single hair will be left." He shouted hoarsely. This matter was extremely serious and could not be delayed. "Goddamn Xiaoping, I won't forgive you." The drought demon elder roared into the sky. He was so angry that it was as if a dozen volcanoes had erupted. His face was flushed red, and the blood in his body directly rushed to the top of his head. I knew there was something wrong with this *TCH. I was wondering why he would attack our temporary camp for no reason. So it was all a scam. The goal was to lure the tiger away from the mountain. They have ulterior motives, despicable and shameless, in order to deceive us. Could it be that Xiaoping doesn't even care about the lives of his human friends? For a bit of money, even blood brothers will kill each other. Now, for the holy fruits and to advance to the king realm, what's the big deal about betraying a few human friends? How heartless. Does this human not have any humanity? He even betrayed his best friends of many years. He's simply a demon, and everyone has the right to kill him. What's the point of saying all of this now? We should hurry back and rescue them. If we're a step too late, then perhaps our homes will be emptied out by that demon. I'll absolutely not forgive the human demon. I'll definitely find him and tear him apart. All the elders gnashed their teeth and were furious to the extreme. Being played around by that human was simply the greatest humiliation of their entire lifetimes, and they could only wash it clean with that bastard's blood. All of them were filled with righteous indignation, and their rage was off the charts. If Xiaoping appeared here, then they would probably swarm over him, tear him into pieces, and eat him alive. No, we have to get rid of these human captives first. Since that demon Xiaoping doesn't care, then we'll slaughter all of them. I want him to regret it for the rest of his life and bear the burden of the sin of killing his friends. I want him to live with guilt and suffer the torment of his conscience all day and night. The drought demon elder roared furiously, and he vented his rage on these human captives. The machine elder said helplessly, "Do you think that human has such a thing as a conscience? If he really had a sense of guilt, then he wouldn't have done such a thing. He felt that even if he killed these human captives, it would be of no use. Even so, I'll still slaughter these humans to vent my anger." The drought demon elder gritted his teeth so hard that blood almost came out. "That's right. I feel disgusted just looking at these humans now. Slaughter these humans. We can't let them continue to harm our 5 great races. Let's go over now and kill these useless human captives. What's the point of wasting food here if they're completely useless? Right, let's kill them immediately." All the elders present agreed. Since these humans were of no use, then they should just kill them all. Otherwise, if these humans were left alive, they would simply be ticking time bombs. No one knew when they would explode. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Chapter 1005. What's going on? Wu Quan and the others were originally in their cells, quietly waiting for Xiaoping and the others to attack. They wanted to rest and recuperate while they were at it, and they wanted to recover a portion of their combat strength. Even though they didn't have much hope, they still had a trace of hope that Xiaoping would suddenly find his conscience and save them. But after waiting for more than half the night, there was still no movement. Their hearts sank more and more. Now that they saw a group of aliens rushing over angrily, they knew that the situation was bad. That slut Xia must have done something to incur the wrath of this group of aliens. Kill them all. As soon as they arrived, the Drought Demon Elder gave the order with a murderous aura. Yes, Elder. Many axemen stepped forward with a cold glint in their eyes. They wanted to chop off the heads of these humans. Wait. Wu Quan instantly became anxious. Out of instinct to survive, he couldn't help but shout, "Sir, may I ask what exactly happened? Why do you want to kill us? Please give us a reason. Even if we die, we want to die knowing why. We don't want to die unjustly." He was burning with anxiety, and he wanted to stop the aliens from attacking. "Why do we want to kill you?" The Drought Hag Elder sneered. "Your friend has made a good plan. He used you as bait and fooled us like fools, creating a diversion. In the end, he didn't come to save you. Instead, he went to our city and killed his way into the sacred grounds to seize the holy fruits. Now, that kid isn't threatened by anything. In other words, you're useless. If I don't kill you, do you think I'll keep you alive for the new year?" Despicable. Wu Quan, Lu Shan, Ren Haodong, and the others cursed in their hearts. They finally understood Xiaoping's plan. That bastard didn't want to save them at all. He was just using them as weapons. He used them as bait to temporarily stabilize the group of monsters here. In the end, the enemy's rear was empty, and that bastard could take advantage of the situation to seize the 5 element spirit fruits. This was truly a good plan. Bastard. At this moment, Wu Quan and the others were filled with envy to the point their intestines had turned green. They were completely able to imagine how happy that kid was. Seizing the spirit fruits of the 5 elements and having the opportunity to step into the king realm would allow him to soar into the sky and attain a meteoric rise in the future. But what about them? They didn't even get a fart. They got all the benefits. Now he had fallen into the hands of this group of aliens and was being tortured. They even vented their anger on him and wanted to kill him. How could they accept such an outcome? "Wait, please don't kill us," Lu Shan shouted. "Actually, we're still very useful. Don't you want to capture Xiaoping and kill him? If you can spare our lives, we are willing to assist you in killing that bitch." For the sake of his own life, he decided to surrender to this group of aliens. Help from within. The elder of the Drought Hag tribe smiled insincerely. "I really don't dare to accept your surrender. Who doesn't know that you humans are full of tricks and cunning? What if you plot against us in secret? I'm afraid that even if you sold us, we would still be counting the money for you." It did not believe the words of LV Shan and the others at all. It felt that these people must be up to something bad. "No, you must believe us. That's right. That bitch Xiaoping disregarded benevolence and morality for his own future. He has no conscience. We have long cut off our friendship with him. We cannot live under the same sky as him. If we're talking about killing that bitch Xiaoping, our feelings are not any lower than yours. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Don't you understand this principle? Moreover, we are humans. Humans are the most familiar with humans. We know that Brat's movement patterns. If we help, that Brat won't be able to escape even if he has wings. That's right. Without our help, it will be very difficult for you to kill him. Didn't you prove this earlier?" Wu Quan, LV Shan, Ren Haodong, and the others all begged for mercy. They said that they were still useful. They could betray them and plot against Xiaoping in secret. They would definitely do their best to kill him. It could be said that their hatred for Xiaoping was monstrous. Hearing these words, the elders present looked at each other. They also felt that what these humans said made sense. If they had the help of these human spies, it would be easy to capture Xiaoping. "Mechanic Elder, what do you think?" Many elders looked at the Mechanic Elder. It was the brains of this group of elders. Its words were very reasonable. The surrounding elders all believed in its words. "It's not unreasonable. The eyes of the mechanic elder flashed. If these humans become our spies and find that brat's whereabouts, then we can work together. That Xia Ping will die for sure. Moreover, they're familiar with Xia Ping's movement patterns. I believe it will be much easier to deal with them. With the help of these human spies, I believe it will be twice the result with half the effort. The only problem is, are they really loyal? If they betray us, how will we deal with it? It pointed out the key problem. This is not a big problem. The Blackwood race elder said darkly, "My Blackwood race has a secret technique called the bone-drilling heart-devouring technique. We use the special energy of our Blackwood race to implant it into their bodies. This way, their life and death will be in our control. If they dare to betray us, we will immediately activate this secret technique and kill them immediately. Even if a king comes personally, they won't be able to save them in time." What? The expressions of LV Shan and the others changed drastically. If they were really affected by the secret technique, then their life and death would really be in the hands of the other party. It would be no different from being slaves. However, they had no choice but to lower their heads. Facing this pressure of life and death, only death would await them if they did not agree. They would not be able to resist at all. Not bad. That's a good idea. Let's do that. I believe that once they are affected by this secret technique, they won't be able to resist. If they dare to resist, we will immediately kill them. In the future, you must serve our 5 races well. Do not have any disloyalty, or I will make you wish you were dead. The elders present all nodded. If they had a secret technique to control these humans, they would not have to worry about them betraying them and turning against them at the crucial moment. All right, enough with the nonsense. Let's control this group of humans first. The Blackwood race elder's expression was sinister. He immediately used a secret technique on LV Shan and the others, controlling them in his palm. At this moment, Xia Ping quickly placed the 5 seeds of life into his space ring. After taking away the most precious treasures here, he had no reason to stay here. He wanted to quickly escape. However, at this moment, an extremely terrifying aura came from outside. The ground trembled, and with a boom, a figure appeared at the entrance of the sacred land. Chapter 1006. The chief of the drought demon tribe, Hangu, was 2 meters tall. His entire body was covered in black fur, and he revealed his ferocious fangs. His entire body was surrounded by black flames. It was like a ferocious beast from hell, filled with a murderous aura. The moment it appeared, the surrounding 100 miles were filled with a violent aura that had solidified. It seemed that if one stayed in this environment for a long time, most living beings with weak willpower would fall into madness and lose their rationality, turning into wild beasts that only knew how to kill. This king's drought dagger, the chief of the drought demon tribe, Hangu, looked down at Xia Ping with disdain. "You are the human who came to my tribe's holy land to make trouble? You want to snatch my clan's holy fruit. How dare you? Have you thought about how you're going to die? Do you want to be steamed or roasted? Choose a way to die." It had already completely treated Xia Ping as a dead man, not giving him any chance at all. Any outsider who dared to trespass into the holy land had to die without exception. Drought Demon Tribe Patriarch Hangu. Xia Ping rubbed his chin. "Is there any other way to die, like dying of old age? I like dying like this." Scram. Hangu was so angry that smoke was coming out of his nostrils. This human was really insatiable. He even wanted to die of old age? Who wouldn't want to? This brat was really dreaming. Very quickly, it discovered that the Holy Land was a little different from before. It seemed to not have the rich 5 elements spiritual chi, nor did it feel like it was bathed in divine energy. Wait, where's the 5 elements spiritual tree? Where did the 5 elements spiritual tree of our 5 races go? Why did it disappear? Hangu was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe his eyes. These 5 divine trees had existed for tens of thousands of years. They had existed ever since the Arcana plane had appeared. The 5 races had long regarded these 5 divine trees as totems, as sacred objects that no one was allowed to profane. But now, all of them had disappeared. One could imagine how shocked it was right now. Its mind was blank. I don't know. Anyway, I was like this when I came in. I also wanted to ask you where you hid the five-element spirit tree. Xiaoping spread his hands, showing an innocent look. Bullshit. Han Ge was enraged. How could it believe the words of this human? The five-element spirit tree was still fine. It stayed in the sacred ground and nurtured my race's holy fruit. It has been like this for 10,000 years. The moment you arrived, the five-element spirit tree disappeared. If this wasn't done by you, who else could it be? Hand over the five-element spirit tree immediately, or I'll make you wish you were dead. That was the race's divine tree. Putting aside the fact that it was the spiritual sustenance of countless clansmen and a totem-like existence, just the spirit fruits it produced could allow the clan's experts to continuously break through. This was the best cultivation resource, and he could not afford to lose it. Now that the divine tree had disappeared, one could imagine how mad it was right now. It even wanted to kill Xiaoping. It can't be. Where's our five elements spiritual tree? Why did it disappear? Where did he go? At this moment, a group of guards followed Han Ge in. When they saw the empty sacred ground, all of them were dumbfounded. Mother of asterisk cur, these bastards want to move our divine tree away because the fruits aren't ripe yet. How immoral. They are harming others without benefiting themselves. What's the point of moving it away? They're not members of the five races, so they can't nurture the fruits. Who knows what these bastards are thinking? Maybe they're out of their minds. Damn it, these people aren't humans. They're gluttons. They eat everything and move everything. The guards were so angry that smoke was coming out of their noses. Their hearts were like volcanoes that were about to erupt. When they saw Xiaoping, their eyes were filled with flames of anger. They had never felt this way in their lives. They really wanted to tear Xiaoping, the culprit, into pieces. Even the divine tree was taken away. What else couldn't he take away? A bunch of bandits. Xiaoping shrugged and said, I really didn't do it. You guys won't believe me even if I tell you the truth. What can I do? If you don't believe me, come and beat me to death. He looked like he was asking for a beating. Damn it, this human is too arrogant. I really want to go up and kill him with a punch. Seeing Xiaoping's appearance, the group of guards were so angry that they stomped their feet. They had never seen such an arrogant enemy. His face made it seem as if others owed him millions. Wait until I catch you and torture you for 3 days and 3 nights. Let's see if you still dare to talk to me with this attitude. The patriarch of the drought demon race, Han Ge, was so angry that he laughed. With a boom, he instantly made a move. Immediately, a fist print condensed from black flames appeared in midair. It contained terrifying power. The surrounding air was pushed away, forming a vacuum zone. This is a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator. Xiaoping's pupils contracted. He immediately felt the horror of this punch. It almost sealed the sky and locked the earth. It completely locked the chi on his body. Although it was just a punch, it was like facing the pressure of heaven and earth. Moreover, this wasn't gang chi, but a terrifying fist print condensed from magic power. The attack power increased by more than 10 times. Compared to a grandmaster, it was simply incomparable. This punch smashed on Xiaoping's body. In an instant, the dark north body protection technique on his body circulated, forming a gang chi energy shield like a black hole. Dong! The air vibrated for thousands of times, and there was a terrifying explosive force. It passed through the layers of gang chi shield and directly penetrated into Xiaoping's lungs. So powerful, Xiaoping's body was beaten back again and again. He slid across the ground for hundreds of meters, and an astonishing deep ravine appeared on the ground. The soil splashed everywhere, and the scene was shocking. With a puff, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of extravasated blood. At this moment, the fire of life in Xiaoping's body was burning like a fire dragon, swimming around the meridians. Suddenly, a wave of life energy spread and quickly repaired the damaged parts. In just a few breaths, his internal injuries were quickly repaired, but on the surface, it looked very scary. The blood stained his clothes and dyed it red. Some of the blood dripped on the ground and immediately burned. With a sizzling sound, it corroded a small hole. This blood contained the essence of the flame and had an extremely high temperature. Impossible, he actually didn't die. Seeing that Xiaoping just spat out a mouthful of blood and didn't fall to the ground, the patriarch of the drought demon race, Hangu, couldn't help but widen his eyes. He couldn't believe what he saw. He was a Purple Mansion realm cultivator who had opened up the Purple Mansion and condensed magic power. He was above the Grandmaster. An ordinary Grandmaster could be smashed in a meat sauce with one punch. Chapter 1007. Not only was Hangu, the leader of the Drought Demon tribe, shocked, but the other guards were also stunned. They couldn't believe it. This human was only at the 8th heaven of the Supreme Power Realm. No matter how talented he was, how could he fight against a king? However, just what was going on right now. He had taken a punch from a King Tyr's fist, yet he had only coughed up a mouthful of blood. This was too exaggerated. No one would believe such an absurd thing if they told others about it. As expected of a king. Indeed, taking off the universal protective suit and fighting a king was the right choice. Xiaoping's eyes were filled with battle intent. If he were to fight a king while wearing the universal protective suit, he would naturally be unharmed. However, this was meaningless. He didn't just want to survive against a king. More importantly, he wanted to comprehend a king's battle prowess and comprehend the mysteries of a king's power. Such comprehension was indispensable if one wanted to advance into the king realm. Even though relying on the energy of the 5-element spirit fruits might be able to help him break through into the king realm and establish the Violet Palace in one go. But he was only an ordinary king realm expert, and relying on external forces to advance into the Violet Palace realm would more or less have flaws. Only by completely comprehending the profundities of the Violet Palace realm would he be able to establish a solid foundation. After all, his current goal was not as simple as becoming a king. Becoming a king was just a starting point. Becoming a legendary sage was his biggest goal now. Therefore, he yearned to have a life and death battle with a Violet Palace realm cultivator and feel the profundity of magic power during the battle. This is a king realm expert? Looks like he's nothing much. Thinking of this, Xiaoping looked down from above and began to provoke. I don't know if it's because you've been in this enclosed environment for too long that your martial arts level has deteriorated. To be honest, you're the weakest king I've ever seen. If you went out into the outside world, a rookie king like you would probably be slapped to death by a true powerhouse. What? Hearing this, the guards of the 5 major races were so angry that their faces turned pale. These words were like sharp arrows piercing into their hearts, and they were so angry that they stomped their feet. It could be said that this was their greatest pain. They were captured by the ancient demon race from the cosmos to this place and became caged birds, unable to leave at all. The inheritance of their ancestors had been severed. This also greatly weakened their strength. For them, this was simply a taboo, not something they could bring up at all. But now, this brat actually dared to mention this matter, poking at their sore spot and slapping them in the face. He was simply audacious to the extreme. He was planning on fighting them to the death. The weakest king. Hangu was so angry that he started laughing. However, everyone could see that his face had turned green. One could imagine how angry he was right now. If an ordinary evolved Jing Master had said this, no one would have cared. After all, a single slap from a king was enough to end everything. However, this human had just blocked an attack from a king and was practically unscathed. Who would dare to doubt the words of such a person? He was very convincing. I was just testing you just now. Luckily, I'll let you live. But now, I want to see how you will resist. Die. Hangu was infuriated. For the sake of its reputation, it had to kill this damned human no matter what. If not, it would lose all its face and would become a laughingstock for the rest of its life. Boom. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared from where it was, and the next second, it appeared in front of Xiaoping. Its whole body was wrapped in black flames, and it was 30 feet tall. It suddenly punched. Drought Demon Volcano Fist. This was a unique martial arts skill passed down by the Drought Demon tribe. It fully exerted the power of fire in the Drought Demon tribe. When the fist came down, it was like a super volcanic eruption with terrifying explosive power and destructive power. Immediately, heat waves rolled within a radius of hundreds of meters. Flames erupted like dozens of volcanoes erupting. Molten lava sprayed from the ground, covering the entire area. In midair, the shadow of the fist was heavy. Each punch was like a volcano pressing down, with terrifying pressure. When it came down, anything would be turned into powder. Dark North Body Protection Skill. Xiaoping immediately operated his body protection skill. The Gang Qi in 99 acupoints erupted at the same time. It was like 99 golden crows of hell were crying. His strength was increasing endlessly. Immediately, a huge Kuan Peng sprang out from behind his body. It was like a fish jumping out of the sea. The surrounding air also seemed to turn into water, making a rustling sound. A huge black air covered his body. With his body as the center, it seemed to form a vortex, sucking in all the light between heaven and earth, turning it into a state of nothingness and darkness. Bang! 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 Hundreds of fist prints of Drought Spear smashed on the air cover. It was like hundreds of missiles exploding at the same time. The penetrating power was so strong that it could shatter most hard metals. The ground where Xiaoping stood instantly collapsed, forming a deep pit with a diameter of 1 kilometer. Hundreds of cracks immediately appeared around him, extending continuously. Gravel crackled. Many rocks were shaken into powder. Even its fists contained black flames. This was not an ordinary flame, but the true life fire of the Drought Demon tribe, the fire of Drought Demon. This was also a kind of heavenly flame. The reason why the Drought Demon tribe could dominate the universe was the existence of the fire of Drought Demon in their bodies. When the fire of Drought Demon was raised to the extreme, it could almost become a flame that could evaporate everything, burning everything. What was even more terrifying was that this flame also contained corpse poison, which was the poison in the body of the Drought Demon tribe. This was the poison of destruction, which could kill countless living creatures in the world. Therefore, when the Drought Demon appeared, it not only represented the power of the flame of their tribe, but also the power of the poison in their bodies. They were also a super poisonous creature. In the universe, they were the existence that countless living creatures were terrified of. Once they appeared, they represented destruction, slaughter, death, and despair. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The black flames burned the gang energy cover on Xiaoping's body, making a sizzling sound. At the same time, it also emitted black poisonous gas, trying to invade Xiaoping's lungs and poison him to death. It seemed that even the North Sea's protective art could not withstand such power. It was about to be burned into pieces by the flames. Holes appeared, like glass, cracking and falling. However, Xiaoping was not nervous at all. His eyes were like light bulbs lighting up. The blow just now made him understand a little bit. I see. This is magic power. Is this the power of a king? Xiaoping felt a great impact from these fist prints. The power of his hell golden crows, I was raised to the extreme. He observed Drought Spear's every move, understood the mystery of martial arts in his opponent, and understood almost everything. Chapter 1008. Mana. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He realized that Han Ji's mental energy had already merged with his mana. It had almost condensed into a solid form. When he punched, it immediately gave off an unparalleled pressure. If an ordinary master were to face this punch, they would probably be hit by the strong mental energy before it could even reach their bodies. Their souls would be shaken, and they wouldn't even be scared out of their wits. It was as if Han Ji's punches had already been engraved with his mental energy. Every punch and kick contained a terrifying spiritual will, which multiplied the power of the punches. So that's how it is. No wonder I can't open the Purple Palace and can't break the mysterious door in the depths of my brain. It's not that my mental energy isn't strong enough, but it's not pure enough. It's not strong enough. Xiaoping suddenly understood. If he wanted to advance to the King Realm and open the Purple Palace, he not only needed to train his earth energy, but also his mental energy. Although his soul was extremely strong and far surpassed that of an ordinary master, it was precisely because there was too much soul energy that his mental energy was a bit impure. It was like a rope. If it was separated, it would be weak. If it could be twisted into a rope and cleanse the impurities in his mental energy, then his mental energy would definitely reach a higher level. It was like a piece of pig iron that could be forged into steel after being tempered thousands of times. It would be invincible. At that time, opening the Purple Palace would naturally be a matter of time. If I can expel the impurities in the soul energy and completely refine my mental energy, then opening the Purple Palace won't be a big problem. Xiaoping was overjoyed. He couldn't help but clench his fists. He was extremely excited. He understood the direction he had to advance in, and he knew how to continue to become stronger. Fortunately, after fighting with Han Gu, the patriarch of the Drought Demon tribe, he understood the key to advancing to the King realm. It saved him a lot of time, and he wouldn't take the wrong path. You dare to be distracted while fighting with me? Seeing Xiaoping's distracted expression, Han Gu was furious. He felt that he was being completely underestimated. He was a King Realm expert. Any Master Realm expert had to be careful when facing him. If he was distracted for even a moment, he would be killed by a King Realm expert. But this guy was obviously in such an intense battle, yet he was still distracted and thinking about other things. How much did this bastard human look down on me? Dying. Han Gu was so angry that he almost died. Because of his anger, the Drought Demon fire on his body became even more terrifying. The black flames burned in midair, turning into a sea of fire. At the same time, the black poisonous gas spread out for several kilometers. The weeds and trees on the ground all withered and died instantly, losing all signs of life. Seeing this, the guards of the 5 major races did not dare to stay here any longer. They all retreated over 10 kilometers to avoid dying to the furious attacks of monarchs. Their deaths would have been too unjust. Bang! Another fist smashed over, carrying with it black flames. Sizzling sounds rang out as they condensed into substance. It was as if a black tiger was roaring, opening its bloody mouth to swallow Xiaoping in a single gulp. Good timing. Xiaoping stood where he was, and his eyes revealed a frightening light. Strands of flames came out from the depths of his eyes, forming a whirlpool that looked like 2 suns spinning continuously. This time, he didn't defend. Instead, he counterattacked. He punched out, shaking and exploding. Saint-level unique skill, Sun God Fist. Immediately, strands of golden flames came out from the 108,000 pores on his body. It was as if the god of the sun had descended, bringing with it endless golden light. It was extremely hot. This kind of flame seemed to be able to melt everything. What kind of fist technique is this? Han Gu was shocked. He felt that this fist contained a trace of the true meaning of martial arts, as if it had reached the essence of the way. This was a fist technique that could control all the flames in the world. When this fist was punched out, a wave of heat rolled out. The black poisonous gas in the surroundings dissipated under this kind of yang qi, as if it had been completely melted and no longer existed. Even the spiritual power on his body could resist it and cancel each other out. With a bang, the 2 forces collided with each other. There was an explosive sound in midair. The power of flames collided with the power of flames, causing the air to tremble thousands of times, and the sound spread out for hundreds of kilometers. Immediately, a huge pit appeared on the ground. Soil flew everywhere, and dense cracks appeared in the surroundings. Countless cracks extended for dozens of kilometers. At the same time, a large amount of flames fell to the ground, creating a deep pit. The flames condensed into liquid and turned into lava, burning hot on the ground. At this moment, this area had turned into a lava lake. It was steaming hot, and the lava was constantly rolling. Impossible. Han Gu couldn't believe it. He was just a human at the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. How could he use such a fist technique to compete with it and not be at a disadvantage? This was a bit too exaggerated. Han Gu was a king who had opened up the Purple Mansion and controlled the spiritual power. His combat power should be far above this human. But what was going on now? How could the Gang Qi compete with the spiritual power? How could a supreme power compete with a king? No matter how hard it thought about it, it couldn't understand this matter. This was simply like the Arabian Nights. Again, Xiaoping was overjoyed. He knew that even with the help of the saint-level fist technique, he was already qualified to compete with ordinary cultivators at the Purple Mansion realm, and he could even fight to a draw with them. Even though the Gangqi in his body was no match for the spiritual power, under the support of the saint-level fist technique, the nature of the power in his body had changed, and his destructive power had increased more than 10 times. This was also enough to offset the huge advantage of the spiritual power. Han Gu, who didn't understand the saint-level martial arts, couldn't imagine how powerful such martial arts were. This was the power that pointed directly to the essence of the Great Way, and it was so tyrannical that it was outrageous. Once mastered, it would be a piece of cake to challenge someone at a higher level. However, it was too difficult to completely master the saint-level martial arts. Even if it was a cultivator who had been promoted to the king realm, it would be extremely difficult to learn without enough talent and guidance from a teacher. Not to mention that even in the universe, the saint-level martial arts were hard to find. Ordinary people were not qualified to come into contact with them at all. Damn it, I don't believe I can't kill you. Hangu was crazy. He felt that his self-esteem had been greatly insulted. As a king, if he couldn't even kill a little supreme power, he would lose face. He attacked again, extremely violent, and launched a storm-like attack on Xiaoping. Xiaoping used the sun god fist, not in a hurry, like the sun god standing on the earth. At the same time, he ran the North Sea body protection skill, absorbing all the opponent's attack power, devouring and digesting it. Bang! Chapter 1009. Damn it, he's getting stronger. Sensing the sudden change in Xiaoping's aura, which seemed to be continuously increasing, Drought Spear's face turned green. This was clearly a battle between kings, but not only was this brat not being killed, he was actually using him as a training target and becoming even stronger. When it thought that this kid was using it as a whetstone and using it as a stepping stone to advance to a higher realm of martial arts, it was extremely mad. It could not accept this reality at all. Go to hell! Go to hell! Drought Spear used all his strength. Countless fist prints appeared in the air, and the power of the fire of drought increased to an unprecedented level. Volcanoes kept erupting on the ground. A large amount of lava shot out and bombarded Xiaoping's body, trying to burn this damned human alive. Originally, for the fire of drought demons, this kind of fire was almost invincible. Not many enemies could be arrogant in front of the fire of drought demon. However, this human was different. He did not seem to be afraid of the fire at all. Instead, he bathed in the fire as if he felt extremely comfortable. Even the surrounding fire of drought demon was being led by him and was constantly being devoured. Yes, it was devouring. At this moment, Xiaoping used the sun god fist. With his body as the center, a huge vortex formed, producing a terrifying suction force. The 108,000 pores on his body were like a rock, breathing together. The drought demon fire that was originally scattered around him turned into wisps of black smoke. All of it surged into his body and devoured the flames like a whale swallowing its prey. This human is crazy. Drought Spear's eyes widened. Ordinary living beings facing the fire of drought demon would be like facing the plague. They would be afraid to avoid it, but this kid was actually taking the initiative to absorb it. Did he think that his life was too long? It should be known that the fire of drought demon not only had the destructive power to evaporate all water and burn countless substances, but it also contained a constantly satisfying poison like the plague. Even a king realm warrior would not be able to withstand such a poison. If they were touched by it, they would die very quickly. However, Xiaoping was not courting death by doing this. He was doing it on purpose. This was because he found that when he used the sun god fist, he actually had the power to devour flames. He could take the enemy's unusual flame as his own and completely integrate it into his own body. This was the reason why the Yang God Fist could be called a holy ranked fist technique. Not only was it a fist technique of extreme Yang, it could also devour the essence of the enemy's strange flames during battle. It was like a god of flames, controlling all the flames in the world. When the drought demon flame entered his body, he operated the pure Yang immortal incantation to expel the impurities of the flame. At the same time, he absorbed the essence of his body and integrated it into his Dantian Shi Si. Rumble, bit by bit, the quintessence of the drought demon flame entered his sea of energy through his pores, where it slowly took shape. Eventually, it became a black sphere of flame that rotated slowly, emanating a bizarre and powerful aura. It was as if it contained all of the drought demon flame's power, including the power to burn and poison. Controlling another type of mystical flame? That's great. Xiaoping was excited to the extreme. Not only had his battle with Hangu allowed him to comprehend a trace of the secrets of advancing into the king realm, it had even allowed his cultivation to improve. Now, he could even devour the drought demon flame on his opponent's body to strengthen the power of his own flame. Hangu was simply a child of wealth, a whetstone to aid his cultivation. It could be said that with the drought demon flame, he had 4 kinds of special flames in his body, which greatly improved his power. Moreover, the drought demon flame was also a well-known mystical flame in the universe, which made many creatures tremble with fear. This was a unique flame of the drought demon clan, which other creatures could not control. Mastering this kind of mystical flame was equivalent to mastering a trump card. Rumble, as he devoured the quintessence of the drought demon flame, a large amount of energy gushed out of Xiaoping's body. His gang qi increased sharply, and his meridians surged like a river. Bang! Bang! The acupoints in his body were broken through one after another, and 3 or 4 acupoints were open at once. His gang qi had greatly increased, and he was close to the peak of the supreme power realm at the 8th heaven. It was estimated that it wouldn't take long for him to break into the supreme power realm at the 9th heaven. At that time, he would be qualified to break into the king realm and truly step into the world of the strong. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Hangu was so angry that he punched again and again, and the sky was full of fire. The drought demon flame was burning fiercely within a radius of more than 10 kilometers, as if this area had turned into a sea of fire. Below this area, the guards of the 5 clans did not dare to approach at all. They could only hide far away. This was because the drought demon flame was too terrifying. Not only could it burn people alive, but it also contained a strong poison. If one stayed in this area for more than 3 seconds, there would be no hope. However, although it was such a terrifying flame, this human was still full of vigor and showed no signs of being poisoned. His gang qi was still increasing, which made Hangu so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Why was this human so terrifying? Was it really the weakest king? Could it be that he could not even defeat a human supreme power? After fighting for 2 hours, Han Ji's confidence was a little shaken. He began to doubt whether he was really the weakest king, as Xiaoping had said. After all, in this secret land, only the patriarchs of the 5 clans were kings. There was no one else besides them. There were not many people to compare with. Moreover, after living in such a closed environment for such a long time, one's martial arts level would naturally decline quite a lot, being stuck in a rut and building a cart behind closed doors. Come on! Xiaoping's body continued to surge with great power, and his strength increased endlessly. Now he was no longer afraid of Hangu. Even without the universal protective suit, he could still fight to a draw with Hangu. If he could advance to the supreme power 9th realm, his strength would increase greatly, and he would even be able to kill ordinary kings. Therefore, no matter how crazy Hangu was, he did not take it seriously. Bang! 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 2 figures were fighting in midair, constantly colliding at a supersonic speed. Their bodies were carrying terrible flames, as if 2 huge suns were colliding. Every time they collided, a large amount of condensed flames burst out and fell on the ground, instantly burning an area, as if this place had turned into a flaming mountain. A large amount of thick smoke burst out in all directions, and lava flowed around like a river. The battle between the 2 sides was earth-shattering. More than a dozen kilometers seemed to have collapsed, and shocking potholes appeared. This seemed to be a battle between 2 kings. What's going on? With a whoosh, at this moment, a terrible momentum came from afar, no less than that of Hangu. That aura came from afar at an extremely fast speed, like a cannonball, jumping in an instant. Dong! In the next second, an imposing figure appeared in front of Xiaoping and Hang. It was a giant man made of stone. He was 3 meters tall. Chapter 10:10. Whoosh! Sensing Rock Storm's arrival, Xiaoping and Hangu once again clashed fiercely. Then, they separated and stayed 1 kilometer away from each other, temporarily halting their battle. Both of them stared at the uninvited guest. Is that the leader of the rock giants? Xiaoping's pupils constricted as he stared at the 3-meter-tall giant made of black rocks. For humans, a 3-meter-tall giant was considered a giant. However, for the rock giants that were hundreds of meters tall, he was just a tiny dot. As the leader of the rock giants, he was only 3 meters tall. It was unimaginable. However, he didn't underestimate the leader of the rock giants at all. That was because the other emitted a terrifying aura of a king. His every move was natural. His body made of black rocks was one and solidified. A powerful aura permeated the air. It seemed like nothing could break through this body that was like a diamond. Rockstorm, aren't you in charge of the construction of the ancestor altar? Why are you here? Hanga didn't expect to meet Rockstorm, who was also a king. I'm curious. Rockstorm smiled. I was curious why you haven't finished off your enemy after so long. That's why I came back to see what happened. I didn't expect you to fight with a master stage master for 2 hours and still not defeat him. To be honest, your strength has dropped a lot recently. You can't even kill a master stage master. It looked at Han Ge with a smile that was not a smile. Of course, it was most curious about Xiaoping because it knew how strong Han Ge was. He was definitely a powerful king, and with the power of the drought demon flame, ordinary kings would not be a match for him. Normally, master stage masters couldn't fight against king stage masters. However, this human master stage master wasn't ordinary. Shut up. I don't need you to comment on my strength. Han Ji's face darkened. He stared at Rockstorm. Although he was angry, he didn't lose his mind. He knew how powerful the leader of the rock giants was. The rock giants weren't better when they were bigger. The materials on their bodies were more important. If the materials were stronger, it meant that the rock giants were more powerful. That was what Rockstorm was doing. It had swallowed the energy of the meteorite from outer space. That was a rock that had fallen from outer space. After being tempered by countless energies, only a small piece was left when it fell to the ground. Rockstorm continuously devoured the energy of these meteorites, giving itself a body of rock, which was many times stronger than a body of steel. Even after receiving an attack from a king, it was completely unharmed. It was known as the king with the strongest defense. Even its drought demon flame would find it extremely difficult to injure Yan Bao's body. Among the 5 great kings, the one that it did not want to provoke the most was undoubtedly Yan Bao. Wait, where's my clan's spirit tree? Where's this spirit tree? All of a sudden, Rock Bao also discovered that his race's spiritual tree was nowhere to be seen in the Holy Land. The surroundings had been razed to the ground. The scene was shocking. Its expression changed drastically. Damn it, Han Ge, did you accidentally destroy the spirit tree during the battle? If you do this, you'll be the eternal sinner of the 5 races. Yan Bao gritted his teeth and glared at Han Ge. He thought that Han Ge had destroyed the spirit tree during the battle. Shut up. Don't think that I'm as stupid as you. Han Ge pointed at Xiaoping. The disappearance of our 5 races spirit tree must be closely related to this human. Before I came here, the spirit tree had already disappeared without a trace. It pointed at the culprit. What? Yan Bao's relaxed mood instantly disappeared. He stared at Xiaoping. Human, what did you do? Where's our rock giant race's spirit tree? Hand it over immediately. His body was filled with a terrifying killing intent. It was as if the world had turned into a blood-colored world. Xiaoping spread his hands and said, I don't know anything. Don't wrongly accuse a good person. Maybe your spirit tree withered and disappeared by itself. Shut up. How could the spirit tree disappear by itself? It's still standing after tens of thousands of years. What do you think it is? It's our race's spirit tree. Yan Bao shouted angrily. Han Ge sneered. Don't talk nonsense with this human. Capture him and interrogate him. Then, we'll know where our spirit tree went. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, Yin Bao attacked without hesitation. The matter of the spirit tree was too important. It was not about face. It was about the life and death of the rock giant race. Now was not the time to fight due to personal feelings. Even if the two kings joined hands to deal with the Grandmaster at the same time was a bit embarrassing, it was nothing compared to the heavy responsibility of losing the spirit tree. His entire body was like a beam of black light. He was so fast that the naked eye couldn't see him. He arrived in front of Xia Ping in an instant. He threw a punch that weighed hundreds of tons. What? Yin Bao was a little surprised. He saw that Xia Ping didn't dodge at all. He stood where he was and activated his protective technique. He wanted to take his punch head on. Immediately, he sneered. He felt that this human was looking for death and overestimating himself. Even among the kings of the 5 races, his strength was the most terrifying. He had the power to move mountains. Even Han Ge, who was also a king, didn't dare to take his punch head on. But this guy was so arrogant. Wasn't he looking for death? But he didn't hesitate. He threw a punch. It was like a collapsing mountain and a torrential river. The explosive power was extremely violent. The surrounding air exploded inch by inch like a missile. Dong! In an instant, Xia Ping was hit by the punch. The air shook tens of thousands of times. The terrifying penetrative force hit Xia Ping's body, and the protective gangshi around him was smashed to pieces, shattering like glass. The difference in strength was too big. Even Dark North's protective technique couldn't completely absorb the opponent's attack. Xia Ping's entire body was sent flying for 5 to 6 kilometers in the air. Stupid Yin Bao, look at what you've done. But Han Ge wasn't happy at all. Instead, he scolded anxiously as if Yin Bao had done something wrong. What? Yin Bao was stunned. He instantly understood why Han Ge was so angry. It was because he saw Xia Ping, who should have been vomiting blood in the air after being punched by him, running away like a thief. That guy rolled in the air and used the impact of his punch to grow a pair of wings on his back. He glided like a big bird and escaped into the distance. In just a few breaths, he was more than 10 kilometers away from them. Chapter 10:11. Why are you running? At this moment, Rock Bao could not understand how this human could be so daring. He actually dared to take a punch from him just to borrow his strength to escape. Rock Storm was extremely strong. If he wasn't careful, he could be killed in one punch and turn into meat paste on the spot. At that time, he wouldn't be running away. He would be seeking his own death. However, Han Ge, who had fought with Xia Ping, knew that even though Rock Storm was the strongest of the 5 kings, no matter how strong he wouldn't be much stronger than them. Moreover, this human's earth chi was extremely strong. In an instant, he had set up dozens of layers of defense. Even if Rock Storm used his full strength, he wouldn't be able to kill him. Therefore, this bastard human was talented and daring. He wasn't afraid of Rock Storm's power at all. Despicable. How dare he run away? Are you still human for doing this? You are a coward. You bragged so much just now, but now you're running away. You're really shameless. If you have the guts, stay and fight with our leader for 300 rounds. The group of guards cursed. They felt that this human was too despicable. The fight hadn't even started, and he was already thinking of running away. He didn't have any martial spirit at all. In the distance, even though they were 10 miles away, Xia Ping could hear the guards cursing. However, he snorted. In terms of despicableness, how could he compare to these kings? It was obvious that a king-level warrior was bullying a master-level warrior. Now, another king-level warrior wanted to fight a master-level warrior with 2 kings. Who was the shameless one? Although he wanted to fight against a king-level warrior to improve his martial skills, it didn't mean that he wanted to be tortured or killed. One king-level warrior was already hard enough to deal with, let alone 2. Even though he had absolute confidence in himself, he didn't think that he could win in such a situation. Most importantly, Xia Ping had gained enough from this battle. If he continued to fight, there wouldn't be any more benefits. Of course, he had to escape. Why should he continue to fight with these kings? If this continued, what would he do if another king-level warrior jumped out? Then, he wouldn't be able to survive. Therefore, when he saw Rock Storm, he knew that he couldn't fight this battle anymore. Therefore, he planned how to escape. As expected, these aliens were caught off guard. They didn't expect him to escape so quickly and leave the battlefield in an instant. Don't even think about escaping. Do you think you can? Rock Bao's face turned green. Originally, he wanted to beat this human half to death. Who knew that he would help this human escape? If this matter were to spread, he would probably be laughed at to death. If this human escaped, they wouldn't even know the whereabouts of their race's spirit tree. Whoosh! It chased after Xiaoping. Traversing through the air was the symbol of a king realm expert. They were already capable of escaping the pull of gravity and directly traversing through space, and their speed was countless times faster than a Grandmaster realm expert. Human, don't even think of running. Hanga also chased after them. Its body was covered in black flames like a fireball as it chased after them. It whistled through the air at over 10 times the speed of sound. The two kings chased after Xiaoping in a frenzy, trying to track him down. However, Xiaoping had long since anticipated their movements. He immediately hid in one of the stone giant's houses and instantly entered the space ring. With a clang, the space ring fell into a corner of the wall, merging with a pile of rubble and sand. Their auras also merged together, and just like that, they silently disappeared from the place. What's going on? Where's that human? Hangu and Rock Blast had caught up to Xiaoping, and they were both stunned. They'd practically ignited their bloodlines and reached the maximum speed they could reach in their lifetime just to catch up to Xiaoping. However, they couldn't find a trace of Xiaoping no matter what, and even this human's aura had vanished. This is where the human's aura vanished. He's definitely hiding nearby. He definitely hasn't escaped our city. Han Ji's expression was gloomy to the extreme. He used his spiritual energy to scan the surroundings in an attempt to find Xiaoping's tracks. However, no matter how hard he searched, he was unable to find any traces of Xiaoping. The problem was that they'd clearly seen this human just a moment ago, yet he'd vanished before their eyes. No matter how fast this kid was, he couldn't be this fast. Now, they couldn't even find a trace of him. It was too exaggerated. Relay my orders. Immediately mobilize all the troops and conduct a carpet search. Kill that human without mercy once he's found. At the same time, lock down the entire city. Not even a fly can escape. Rock Blast shouted furiously. His voice surged and affected the entire city. It condensed into a material form and entered the ears of the guards from the 5 races, and they were ordered to search the entire city. However, after half a day had passed, it was already noon of the second day. The soldiers from the 5 races who'd gone outside hurried back and joined the search team. They searched every corner, and the intensity of the search increased. However, even so, they still couldn't find a trace of Xiaoping. It was as if he disappeared from this world. After hearing this news, Hangu and Rock Blast's expressions were extremely gloomy. They were as black as ink, like dark clouds that covered the sky. None of the guards dared to approach the 2 kings who were in a bad mood, afraid that they'd be implicated. That damned human. Did he really escape our city? What kind of tricks did he use? Hangu gritted his teeth. A terrifying rage was brewing in his heart. It could be said that he'd never been so angry in his entire life. We've already conducted such a strict search. I'm afraid that the human has really escaped our city, Rock Blast said helplessly. Even if we continue to search, it'll be useless. Are we just going to let that human go? He made the spirit trees of our 5 races disappear. He must be the one who did this. Hangu was very unwilling to admit defeat. A cold light flashed in Rock Blast's eyes. It doesn't matter. Only immature spirit fruits of the 5 elements grow on the spirit trees. These spirit fruits don't have enough energy. Even if that human obtains them, he won't advance to the king realm. He must still be in this mystic realm. As long as he doesn't advance to the king realm, he won't be able to leave this prison. We'll meet sooner or later. His tone was murderous. This incident had given him a slap in the face and made him furious. Rock Blast continued. Our most important task now is to build the ancestral altar and contact our brothers in the depths of the universe. As long as we can contact them, we'll be able to leave this prison. We can even borrow the strength of our brothers to invade the world where humans and demons coexist. We'll kill all our enemies and cause chaos. This is the most important thing for our 5 races. Hanga nodded. Once the ancestral altar was completed, the humans and demons would definitely be finished. They wouldn't be able to resist the power of the 5 races in the universe. Chapter 10:12. At this moment, in the slime's encampment, there was a huge lake with clear water. Although it was a lake, it was actually almost the same as the sea, with a depth of thousands of meters. At the bottom of the lake, there were underwater mountains, and inside the mountains, there were many caves. The slimes lived in these caves, and the surrounding mountains seemed to be emitting a transparent energy, isolating the lake water and forming a huge living place. Many slimes were going in and out of this place, carrying out all kinds of activities. At this time, in a cave deep in the mountains, a ring was lying quietly on the ground. Is this the place where the slimes live? It's really interesting. Xiaoping used his mental power to perceive the surroundings and perceive the place where the slimes lived. In order to avoid the search of the 5 major races, he deliberately came to this place and did not quietly stay in a corner. After all, the 5 major races were searching too crazily, searching everywhere. It was simply digging 3 feet into the ground. Even if the space ring was small, there was still a possibility of being discovered. If the guards of the 5 major races found this ring, they would think that it was a rare treasure and pick it up. At that time, he would probably be like a turtle in a jar. Therefore, Xiaoping thought about it and felt that the safest place in this city was the encampment of the slimes. In any case, it was a huge lake and underwater world. Except for the slimes, the creatures of the other 4 major races could not survive, and they would not come here for no reason. Therefore, Xiaoping also used the invisibility bead to quickly conceal his figure and quietly hid in the encampment of the slimes. He was completely silent, and no slimes could find his trace. It was estimated that the soldiers of the 5 major races could not imagine that humans would hide in the underwater world, so they had been searching on land, but they did not know that it was useless. Xiaoping, there seems to be a treasure in this place. Suddenly, Corinne's voice transmitted over. There is a treasure? Xiaoping's heart moved. He knew that Corinne had a detection instrument on him, which could explore the area within a radius of 10,000 miles and learn the strength distribution of various creatures, as well as the existence of various treasures. Therefore, Corinne said that there was a treasure here, there must be a treasure. Where is it? Thinking of this, he immediately asked, "It's at the deepest part of this cave." Corinne pointed to the northeast direction. In the middle of the mountain, at the bottom of the lake, a cave entrance was connected to another cave entrance, continuously going deeper like a complex maze. However, under Corinne's exploration instrument, it was nothing, and it was clearly detected in an instant. Whoosh! Xiaoping came out of the space ring and activated the invisibility pearl to hide his figure. He immediately followed Corinne's instructions and quickly went deep into the cave. Along the way, many slime soldiers appeared, but they couldn't find Xiaoping. They didn't know what was going on, nor did they know that humans had invaded this place. More than 10 minutes later, Xiaoping walked for who knew how many kilometers and finally entered the deepest part of the cave. It was a huge space. By the time Xiaoping arrived, there were no more slimes around. It was as if this was a forbidden area that forbade any slimes from approaching. Is this an altar? Xiaoping's pupils contracted. He discovered that this huge space was a mysterious altar. The altar was engraved with numerous mysterious lines, and it seemed that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was slowly pouring into this altar. And on this huge altar, there was a green egg. The eggshell was densely covered with mysterious golden lines, exuding a mysterious and noble aura. Apart from this, there was nothing on the altar. An egg. Xiaoping blinked his eyes. He didn't expect that there would only be one egg on this huge altar. Could it be that this group of slimes were worshipping this mysterious green egg? What kind of egg is this? It is so precious. No way this is the egg of a golden slime. Seeing this egg, Corinne couldn't help but cry out, unable to conceal the shock in his heart. Golden slime? What is this? Xiaoping looked at Corinne. The so-called golden slime is the royal family of the slime's race and has a special bloodline. Corinne said in a deep voice, if the attribute of an ordinary slime is water, but golden slime is different, its attribute is nothing. It even has a kind of heaven-defying ability, and that is devour. Xiaoping didn't speak. He wanted to continue listening to Corinne. Corinne also didn't keep him guessing and continued. The reason why the slime's race can become an outstanding and famous race in the universe is because of the royal golden slime. They have the power of devour and can strengthen their strength by devouring all things in the world. Moreover, they can also refine the power of these substances into their own bodies. In other words, if they have enough resources, they can become infinitely stronger. This is a heaven-defying race. Corinne's tone was very excited. So powerful. Xiaoping touched his chin. He was very curious about this egg. Of course it's powerful. After all, even in the slime's race, golden slime is an extremely rare existence. It is not born through the union of golden slime, but through a mutation. Corinne said, in other words, even the slime's race doesn't know when a golden slime will be born and can only rely on luck. Sometimes, a golden slime may not appear even in 10,000 years. Xiaoping nodded his head. No wonder this group of slimes worshipped this golden slime egg, treating it as a god. If it was a member of the royal family, then it wouldn't be surprising. Corinne clenched his fists and said, but this is not what this old man is excited about. Rather, golden slime is an outstanding and famous pet in the human world. If one can obtain one and completely tame it, then it would simply be heaven-defying. It is said that there was an ancient sage who, when he was young, had extremely good luck and found a golden slime. Both of them grew up together and fought in the starry sky. Relying on the power of this sage-rank slime, that sage was almost invincible. He could kill all the sages of the same rank and ruled over thousands of starfields. At that time, Master searched for who knows how long and crossed countless starfields, but he couldn't find a golden slime. I didn't expect that he would actually find one in this countryside. He is simply too lucky. Chapter 10:13. But this is just an egg. It hasn't hatched yet. Xiaoping touched his chin and pointed at the green egg on the altar. He could feel that this egg indeed has the rhythm of life, but it was still in a deep sleep and didn't look like it was hatching at all. It's good that it hasn't hatched. If it really hatched, I'm afraid it wouldn't be so easy to subdue. Corinne chuckled and stroked his grizzled beard. Xiaoping blinked his eyes. But how should it hatch? This egg seems to have stayed in this place for a long time. It seems like it hasn't hatched yet. He instinctively sensed that this egg seemed to have stayed on this altar for a long time. This is the egg of a golden slime. It's not that simple to hatch it. Corinne said, it needs a unique ritual to be awakened. Otherwise, it will always be in a deep sleep, and not being able to hatch for tens of thousands of years is very normal. If it was in the original universe, this golden slime egg would definitely hatch. But this group of slimes' inheritance has been cut off, so I don't know how to awaken this egg. Fortunately, when Old Master was looking for golden slime, he also obtained this special awakening ritual. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to hatch this egg. Corinne faintly smiled. What is the method? Xiaoping immediately asked. Therefore, Corinne taught Xiaoping the awakening ritual, which required him to use his blood to engrave a special array on this egg. This array was called Soul Contract Array. Once this array was signed, Xiaoping's soul would be bound to the golden slime, so that the golden slime would no longer betray him and become a companion pet. Boom! As soon as his voice fell, Xiaoping didn't hesitate and immediately took action. He bit his finger, blood flowed out, and immediately drew the soul contract array on this green mysterious egg. Immediately, a bright red mysterious line appeared on the green eggshell, and it didn't take long for the soul contract array to be drawn. Corinne's pupils contracted. He noticed a trace of abnormality because when Xiaoping's blood dripped down, it was not ordinary human blood. It was like lava, containing a terrible flame as well as a huge amount of energy. The blood dripped on the green eggshell and was greedily absorbed by the egg, instantly penetrating into its deepest part, as if it had activated the egg's vitality. Crash! When the blood seeped into the depths of the egg, the entire egg emitted bursts of crimson light. It was as if it was surrounded by a ball of flames, and the faint cry of an immortal bird could be heard. The temperature of the entire cave was rising rapidly. The altar seemed to be unable to withstand the heat of the flames, and it was showing signs of being melted into magma. What the hell is this? Corinne was dumbfounded. Even though he knew about this soul contract array and had seen Old Master use it countless times, he had never seen this kind of situation. It was obvious that this soul contract array had undergone an inconceivable change under Xiaoping's usage. Could it be that there's something wrong with this kid's blood? Corinne unwaveringly stared at Xiaoping's dripping blood. He quickly discovered that this blood contained the aura of nobility, ancientness, chaos, darkness, hell, nothingness, and so on, just like an ancient existence. It was a bloodline that was many generations older than his old master. It was as if it was the master of this universe. Corinne vaguely seemed to have produced a trace of hallucination. A divine bird comparable to the sun had appeared in front of his eyes. Just a single feather had fallen down, and it seemed as if it had ignited a star field and burned the universe. No way. Is this still a human being? Is he the descendant of some ancient god? Corinne was dumbfounded. When he had examined Xiaoping's body before, he had not discovered this kind of thing. Obviously, it was not that there was a problem with the base's detection equipment, but that this kind of bloodline was too noble. Even the most advanced detection equipment was unable to detect anything. This was beyond the detection range of the equipment. Pa. At this time, when the soul contract array was drawn and a large amount of blood seeped into the egg suddenly cracked open. Like glass breaking, crackling sounds rang out, and countless cracks appeared. And from these cracks, a brilliant golden light blossomed, just like a golden sun. People's eyes were almost unable to open under this kind of light. However, for Xiaoping, who had the golden crow's eyes of hell, this was nothing. He stared at the egg and saw pieces of eggshells falling on the altar, making popping sounds. Not long after, all the eggshells fell down, the light disappeared, and a plump creature appeared from inside the green egg. It had a pair of watery golden eyes, and its whole body was transparent, appearing to be in a gelatinous state. It had a pair of small hands and feet, and it looked like a cute creature, very elastic. Indistinctly, golden lines emerged from its transparent body, as if golden flames were emerging from it. Xiaoping instinctively sensed that his soul and this slime had an inexplicable connection. He seemed to be able to perceive its emotions at any time, as if the two of them were one. Slime! The golden slime cried out in joy. As if it had sensed Xiaoping's existence, it suddenly jumped in front of Xiaoping and rubbed against him. Its movements were very intimate, and it was also subconsciously picked up by Xiaoping. Instantly, Xiaoping felt that this slime's body was very elastic, and it felt very good to pinch. Right, I have to give you a name. I'll call you Xiao Jin from now on. Xiaoping rolled his eyes and saw its pair of golden eyes. He immediately gave it a name, so that it would be convenient to exchange in the future. Slime. The golden slime Xiao Jin seemed very excited, and it rubbed against Xiaoping. Gurgle. Immediately, a rumbling sound came from its stomach. It was obviously very hungry. Hungry? Xiaoping blinked his eyes. Xiao Jin turned around, left Xiaoping's embrace, and returned to the altar. Its small hands grabbed the eggshells on the ground. It began to chew on them, as if they were very delicious. After eating the eggshells, it seemed that it was still not satisfied, and it stared at the altar again. Then it opened its small mouth again and actually began to chew on the altar. It ate bite by bite, and in a few breaths' time, it had eaten a small part of the altar. No way. It can even eat this. It's simply a glutton. Xiaoping's eyes widened. He could sense that the material used to make this altar was very unusual. Even if he struck it with all his strength, he could only leave a fist mark on it, and it was impossible to destroy it. Chapter 10:14. Amazing. This scene was also seen by Corinne. He was experienced and knowledgeable, so he naturally knew what material was used to make this altar. It was a relatively famous metal in the universe, mica steel. The outer shell of an ordinary super battleship was made of mica steel. Even if it was hit by a Star Destroyer cannon, it would not be able to destroy the defense of mica steel in a short time. One could well imagine how powerful mica steel was. It was many times harder than diamond. But now, it was actually eaten by this golden slime as if it was chocolate, as if it was eating a snack. It's too strong. Corinne knew that even if the golden slime had infinite potential, but when it was born, it was not much different from an ordinary slime. It had a little ability, but it was also limited. Therefore, their devouring ability at birth was not very strong. They could only devour some ordinary steel, rocks, and so on as food to supplement their energy. It was impossible to devour a special metal like mica steel. Even if they forcefully swallowed it, they would only suffer from malnutrition and would not be able to digest and absorb it. But looking at the appearance of this golden slime, it did not have any intention of forcefully swallowing it. It was extremely relaxed. One could well imagine how powerful its devouring power was. The initial devouring power was already so frightening. If it were to grow up completely, at that time, it would be even worse. Could it be that it has mutated? Corinne recalled the abnormality that occurred when Xia Ping signed the soul contract array just now. A large amount of golden energy was absorbed by this golden slime, making it reach a saturated state, so all kinds of changes occurred. But thinking of this, he was a little frightened. Ordinary golden slime was already abnormal enough, and now it was going to continue to mutate. How heaven-defying would it become? Suddenly, he looked at Xia Ping with an extremely strange expression. This kid is obviously just a native of a remote place. Why does he always do this kind of thing that can shock even a sage's servant like me? This is too inconceivable. Could it be that this kid's background is greater than mine, a sage's servant? Smack, smack. A few minutes later, the several-meter-tall altar made entirely of mica steel was completely devoured by the golden slime, leaving not a single drop behind. But its size still did not change. It was almost the same as before, as if its stomach contained a different dimensional space, which was very inconceivable. Slime! Xiao Jin was lying on the ground, rubbing his stomach with his little hand. He looked like he was stuffed. He actually fell asleep in this place, and there were even bubbles coming out of his body. Asleep? Xia Ping was speechless as he looked at this little foodie. What a carefree little guy. After all, it is still a newborn baby, so it is quite sleepy. After it finishes digesting the mica steel, I reckon it will quickly evolve. Corinne explained. This was the special characteristic of slimes. As long as they had enough resources, they could evolve rapidly. There were almost no bottlenecks to speak of. However, this also meant that the slime race was very expensive. Without sufficient resources, it was impossible to raise a powerful helper. If an ordinary person raised a slime, they would immediately go bankrupt. Whoosh! Xia Ping nodded. He grabbed it with his hand and threw it into his spatial ring, letting it rest there for the time being. He looked around. Other than this golden slime, there were no other treasures in this space. All right, everything has been resolved. Looks like it's time to eat the 5-element spirit fruit. I'm going to break through into the king realm in one go this time. Chun Shi withdrew the 5-element spirit fruit, while his eyes revealed burning desire. The king realm. This was the supreme realm in the sky realm. Once one broke through, it was similar to a carp leaping through the dragon gate. Among the tens of billions of humans, there were not many who could advance to the king realm. It could be said that becoming a king realm was the greatest dream of all ordinary people. When he was on Yanhuang Star, Xia Ping had never thought that he would be able to advance to the king realm one day. At that time, becoming a grandmaster was also an unreachable dream for him. However, in just a year, he had grown to this extent. It was really unimaginable. Do you really want to eat the 5-element spirit fruit now and advance to the king realm? Corinne suddenly asked. Xia Ping blinked his eyes. What's wrong? Can I? You can. Once you eat these 5 spirit fruits, according to your current savings, breaking through to the king realm shouldn't be a problem. However, in this way, you won't be able to stay in this special space and will be quickly expelled. Corinne pointed out this extremely important issue. Expelled. Xiaoping also suddenly thought of this problem. If he really advanced to the king realm at this moment, he was afraid that he would be expelled from this special space in an instant. If you leave this special space now, what will happen to the plan of the 5 major races to build the ancestral altar? Corinne said in a deep voice. If they really succeed in building it and attract the aliens of the 5 major races from the depths of the universe, I'm afraid that the sky realm will be destroyed in an instant. It will be impossible to resist. Even if the 5 major races were not the top races in the universe, they were still relatively powerful races. Even if such races sent a small army, they could destroy the sky realm dozens of times. Compared with those races that could cross countless star fields, the humans of the sky realm were still too fragile. Indeed, I can't just leave like this now. I must destroy this ancestral altar. Xiaoping nodded. Once those aliens descended, not only would the sky realm be in big trouble, but even Yanhuang's star might be invaded by those aliens. At that time, his parents would be finished. He absolutely would not allow such a thing to happen. But in this way, the 5 elements spirit fruit can't be eaten for the time being. Xiaoping didn't expect that even if he got the 5 elements spirit fruit, he couldn't eat it immediately to promote to the king realm. But there was no other way. He had to postpone this matter for the time being. Anyway, the 5 element spirit fruit was already in his hands, so it was not a problem to eat at any time. Not necessarily. Corinne smiled slightly. If it's just 1 spirit fruit, it probably can't promote you to the king realm, but it can promote you to the 9th heaven of the supreme power realm. If I advance to the 9th heaven of the supreme power realm, my strength will be greatly improved. At that time, it will not be too difficult to deal with those purple mansion realm cultivators. Xiaoping nodded. There was no time to lose. He immediately left the dangerous cave to avoid the slime guards. He then went to a secluded cave entrance and hid inside. Chapter 10:15. Boom! When Xiaoping ate the wood spirit fruit, it melted in his mouth and turned into a wood spirit liquid. It quickly entered his body along his throat. At the same time, he ran the pure yang immortal technique. His whole body turned into a huge elixir furnace. The flame in the depths of the sea of qi in his dantian burned and quickly refined the wood spirit liquid. Clatter. Xiaoping immediately felt that this wood spirit fruit contained a huge amount of life energy. It was more powerful than any elixir or spirit fruit he had eaten before. It was simply the essence of heaven and earth. At this moment, all his pores were opened and he felt extremely comfortable. He greedily absorbed the huge energy emitted by this spirit fruit and integrated it into every cell in his body. At the same time, the elixir was refined by the sea of qi in his dantian and quickly transformed into gang qi. It went out of the sea of qi in his dantian and flowed through his body along his meridians. It was like a raging river, rumbling, bang, bang. As the gang qi rose to a high level, the acupoints in Xiaoping's body that had not yet been opened could not bear the impact of the majestic gang qi and were quickly opened one by one. It was simply irresistible. Even if he wanted to resist it, he could not. Just 1 spirit fruit has such a medicinal effect. If I take 5 spirit fruits at the same time, how amazing it will be. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He finally knew why the 5 elements spirit fruit had the energy to promote ordinary people to the king realm. It was worthy of being the spirit fruit cultivated by the 5 clans with all their efforts. It really had the power to seize the creation of heaven and earth. Even if he needed far more energy than ordinary cultivators, this wood spirit fruit could still meet his cultivation needs. It could be imagined how strange this kind of spirit fruit was. It was no wonder that the ancient demon clan was so powerful. There was once a demon saint, but they were so eager for the spirit fruit of the 5 clans. They did not hesitate to offend the 5 clans and secretly took them back. This was indeed the supreme treasure that laid the foundation for the continued prosperity of the clans. Xiaoping did not know how long it had been. He had been refining the majestic elixir of the wood spirit fruit. Acupoints were open one by one. In the end, his body suddenly shook. The last acupoint was opened by a large amount of Gang Qi, the ninth heaven of supreme power realm. Xiaoping immediately knew that he had finally stepped into the realm of the supreme power realm. The Gang Qi above each acupoint was rumbling and flowing, making his whole body full of strength. His muscles, bones, meridians, and skin had also been further refined with the promotion to the supreme power ninth heaven, and his strength had also been greatly improved. Even the mental strength in his mind had rapidly improved. A large amount of soul crystals had melted and quickly fused with his soul, causing his mental strength to continuously increase. Xiaoping was shocked. He felt that his originally vast brain region was now filled with mental energy. It had all turned into a gray mist, almost filling up his entire brain region. This was because the spiritual mist was so dense that it was about to liquefy. Supposedly, after the Violet Palace was developed, one spiritual energy would liquefy, and this was an important symbol of advancing into the king realm. Such a spiritual energy was countless times more formidable than a grandmaster. At this moment, a virtual figure appeared in the depths of his mind, and he began to practice his martial arts, Myriad Beast Fist, Head-Piercing 7 Arrows Technique, Dark North Body Protection Technique, Buddha's Palm, 8 Heavenly Dragons Music, Epic of Heaven, Star Attraction Technique, Pure Yang Immortal Technique, Four Seasons Sword Technique, held Demon Suppressing Spear, and other unique skills. Through such practice, he seemed to have mastered these martial arts, integrated them into his blood, and turned them into instinct, causing his understanding of martial arts to reach a higher level. Suddenly, as if he was blessed, Xiaoping couldn't help but make a sound. Wu, gu, ba, ma, ah, 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 ah. This was the 8 heavenly dragons' music. Saying these 8 syllables was like shaking heaven and earth, resonating with heaven and earth. The surrounding air faintly vibrated, as if a heavenly dragon was roaring. With Xiaoping's body as the center, the area within a radius of dozens of miles was affected. Many of the slimes were stunned. They felt an indescribable fear, as if there was a heavenly dragon roaring. That was an unparalleled existence that could not be matched at all. They wanted nothing more than to prostrate themselves on the ground and submit. But they couldn't find a source of this sound. They didn't know where it came from. This is the voice of a heavenly dragon. How can he understand it? Corin's eyes widened, looking at Xiaoping in disbelief. It must be known that the dragon race is one of the peak races in the universe, and its strength is not inferior to the human race. And the dragon race's syllables are top secret. Only people with considerable status or come from ancient orthodoxies, they simply won't know. Legend has it that the dragon's voice contains the supreme mystery of power. It can develop the human body's treasures, stimulate potential, and temper the physique. Many humans want to learn the heavenly dragon syllables, but they can't. But Xiaoping learned it. It's really unimaginable. Corinne feels that this kid is incomparably mysterious, as if he is shrouded in a dense fog. He simply can't see the real details. It can simply be described as unfathomable. Along with these 8 syllables, Xiaoping's body produced a strange vibration. The surrounding world's essence distorted. It seemed as if the phantom of a heavenly dragon appeared. It faced the sky and roared. Not only his body, but even his soul was shaking, as if this was a cry from his soul. No way. The heavenly dragon syllables is not only a sound wave technique, it can also temper mental power at the same time. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a glimmer of light as he continued to recite these 8 heavenly dragon syllables, deepening their understanding. He increasingly felt that these 8 syllables contained a great power. It seemed as if they contained supreme mystery. Once he recited it, it seemed as if it formed a vibration with heaven and earth. It could mobilize the power of heaven and earth. At the same time, his soul was also slowly stained with a trace of dragon might. It had an innate majesty. It constantly trembled. It seemed as if it was undergoing a great tempering. A lot of mental impurities were expelled. causing his soul to become even purer. He immediately understood that although the heavenly dragon's syllables attack power was only at the mid-grade king level, the secret it contained was far beyond the mid-grade king level. Whoosh, Xiaoping constantly recited these 8 syllables, tempering his mental power, tempering it over and over again. Slowly, the mental power in his body was originally very soft. It could be easily broken. But with the tempering of the heavenly dragon's syllable and the removal of impurities, it became as tough as cowhide. If he wanted to break it now, it would not be so simple. In the blink of an eye, a purple door appeared in his mind. Previously, he had been unable to break the purple door no matter what he did. But at this moment, Xiaoping's mind moved, and countless mental power threads gathered together, condensing into a gray spear. Dong. Chapter 10:16. It can't be right. Could be that I can already open the Violet Palace and shatter the door to the Violet Palace now? Xiaoping felt that he wasn't far from the Violet Mansion realm, and as long as he was willing, he could step into the Violet Mansion realm at any time. But he still held himself back. Firstly, he hadn't resolved the matter of the 5 great races. If he rashly advanced into the King realm, then he would definitely be expelled from the Secret realm. The gains wouldn't make up for the losses, and it would leave behind a huge problem in the future. Secondly, he hadn't successfully opened up all the acupoints in his body, and he hadn't allowed his body to reach its peak state. If he were to open up the Violet Palace now, it would probably leave behind injuries to his body. It was better to wait until his essence, chi, and spirit were all raised to the pinnacle state before opening the Violet Palace. Only then would his potential be boundless, and he wouldn't let his body leave behind an irreparable mistake. Otherwise, he would regret advancing rashly into the King realm for his entire lifetime. I've searched the entire world for it, only to find it by chance. Initially, I was still thinking about how to temper my mental power, but who would have thought that the 8 heavenly dragons' music would be a supreme secret technique for tempering one's mental power? Xiaoping was overjoyed. He felt that he had picked up a treasure. The more he cultivated the heavenly dragon's music, the more he felt that this martial art was unfathomable. If he cultivated it to a high level, even his soul would be tainted by the might of a dragon. With a single roar, all living beings would submit and their spirits would crumble. When he thought up to here, he restrained his impulse to break through into the King realm, and he slowly consolidated his cultivation that had risen explosively while ceaselessly circulating the pure yang, everlasting technique to allow his body to get accustomed to this explosive increase in strength. After a day, Xiaoping finally came out of seclusion. He had digested and absorbed the power of the supreme power ninth heaven, and his combat effectiveness had more than doubled. Even if Hangu, the patriarch of the Drought Demon tribe, came again, he could still beat him half to death with his bare fists. Jiang Yi now had unprecedented confidence, relying on his astral chi that was dozens of folds stronger than regular cultivators. Coupled with the Saint-class martial art, regular Purple Mansion realm cultivators weren't a match for him. Slime. At this moment, the slime in the space ring finally woke up from its slumber. It had devoured a large amount of mica steel, which gave it great benefits. However, its body was still the same as before, about the size of a soccer ball. It didn't seem to have changed at all. Senior, what is the use of this golden slime? Xiaoping placed the golden slime in his hand and gently pinched it. He felt that this was just a cute pet that only knew how to eat all day. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't look like a powerful helper. He looked at Corinne. It's very useful. Corinne stroked his grizzled beard. The most important thing is that slime has a kind of ability, and that is mimicry. It can change into various forms according to the master's will. For example, the ancient sage from before. The slime beside him turned into a weapon and armor that covered his entire body. It could be said that there are no gaps at all. With his Saint-tier armor, he is invincible. No Saint-tier attack can harm him at all. He is invincible even before the battle begins. Of course, you'll have to eat whatever you want to mimic. For example, if you want to transform into a weapon, you have to consume a large amount of iron, ore, and various special minerals. The more precious and powerful these minerals are, the more powerful the weapon that the slime can transform into will be. Mimicry? Weapons? According to the master's will. Hearing Corinne's words, Xiaoping subconsciously looked at the golden slime. His heart moved, and he seemed to have an inexplicable connection with the golden slime's soul. Boom! In the next second, the golden slime's body immediately underwent a huge change. It was originally in a gelatinous state, but at this moment, it instantly turned into a 3-foot-long sharp blade. Under the illumination of the surrounding light, it emitted a burst of cold light, with a sharpness that could cut iron like mud. Bang! Xiaoping held this sharp blade and gently slashed it. With a poochy sound, a rock in front of him was instantly cut in half. The cut was smooth, as if cutting into tofu. Amazing! Xiaoping was surprised. This sword was sharper and more powerful than any sharp blade he had seen before. Even the precious weapon he had previously obtained, Flame Dragon Divine Sword, was completely incomparable to it. This was a sword transformed from the slime, swallowing mica steel. It had the sharpness and toughness of mica steel. Even a Star Destroyer cannon could not break it. This was not a supreme weapon that could be made in the heavenly realm. Huh, it can still extend. Xiaoping suddenly sensed some information from the slime. He subconsciously moved, and the sharp blade in his hand instantly lengthened. It was hundreds of meters long, and in an instant, it pierced the mountain wall in front of him. He was dumbfounded. This sword was too terrifying. Who could have imagined that it could still extend? If he was fighting with this sword, and it suddenly lengthened, it could instantly pierce the enemy's body. In this way, the enemy would not even know what happened to them. But it was also natural that it could lengthen. After all, it was still a slime, and it belonged to a gelatinous state. It had the characteristic of almost infinite extension. Coupled with the toughness and sharpness of mica steel, it was simply invincible. It can also split. But this was just the beginning. Xiaoping's heart moved, and the sword extended. In an instant, it split from the middle, and immediately, dozens of sharp blades appeared. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, hundreds of sharp blades pierced out from the ground, tearing the earth apart. The rocks on the ground were smashed into pieces, and some were even cut into powder. This was like a mountain of knives in hell. Nothing could stop it. Just imagine, with a slash of this sword, hundreds or even thousands of sharp blades would appear in an instant. Moreover, they were indestructible. Which enemy could resist them? With this weapon, even if it was 1 against 1,000, it wouldn't be a problem. This is simply an endless war blade. Xiaoping didn't hesitate to use his hands to hold this weapon. No wonder the golden slime was desired by countless powerhouses in the universe. Even the Starry Sect master wanted it and spent a lot of effort to find it. With the golden slime, it was equivalent to having the best weapon. Moreover, it was a weapon that was constantly evolving. As long as there were enough resources, it could become infinitely powerful. Who could resist such a weapon? It could be said that after having the golden slime, the desire for other weapons was not as great. Just by devouring mica steel, it is already so powerful. If it devours even more precious metal, ores, wouldn't it continue to evolve? At that time, with this sword, I would be able to kill a king with a single slash without panting. Xiaoping clenched his fists and became more and more excited. He knew that he had really obtained a huge harvest this time. Whoosh! In the next second, the slime changed from a sword to a green bracelet, hanging on Xiaoping's right wrist. This was also the characteristic of the slime. It was ever-changing, and there was no need to specially keep it in a spatial ring. Chapter 10:17. Stop dreaming. Lu Qi sneered, I don't even know where he is right now. Even if I did, do you think I would tell you, unscrupulous people? Even if I die, don't even think about getting a single piece of information from me. The 3 old masters sneered at Wu Quan and the others, their eyes filled with contempt. They had lived for hundreds of years and had experienced everything. Even if they were tortured, it was nothing. Moreover, they had lived for such a long time and didn't fear death like they did when they were young. This was just a reincarnation, and after 18 years, they would be heroes again. You, Wu Quan, and the others clenched their teeth. If ordinary people said this, they would think that they were bluffing. However, the people who said this were old masters who had lived for hundreds of years. Their willpower was like steel, not something young people could compare with. If they said they wouldn't say it, they definitely wouldn't say it. They wouldn't doubt the willpower of these old masters. Forget it. You guys aren't the only ones who know this news. Don't think that you guys are of great use. Even if you don't say it, others won't say it. I don't believe that all of you trash can withstand torture. At this moment, Lu Shan said sinisterly. He looked around and glanced at the monsters in the surroundings. Finally, his gaze fell on Tu Linglong and Qing Wan. I recognized this girl. She seemed to have been captured by that bitch, Xia Ping. She was even taken into his mansion for a few days. I don't know what happened during that time. Ren Haodong pointed at Tu Linglong. He also understood some of the things that happened to Xia Ping. I remember too. This is the saintess of the myriad demon mountain race, Tu Linglong, as expected of the demon race's saintess. Her beauty is indeed amazing. Legend has it that that bitch, Xia Ping, is lustful. God knows how many women he has harmed. I reckon that this girl has fallen into that bitch's hands. She probably has already been F***ked. So this Tu Linglong is that Xia Ping's woman? Yes, most likely. Also, that Qing Wan next to her might not be able to escape from Xia Ping's hands. F***ck. This beast has come to the secret realm to train, and he even brought 2 women with him. He's enjoying the bliss of having 2 wives. Damn it, I can't accept this. Why is it that we're in such a miserable state in this secret realm? We're being hunted down like dogs, and we're even being held captive and tortured. Yet this brat is living so comfortably. Anyone can live, but Xia Ping must die. Wu Quan and the others recalled everything that had happened before. Their hatred for Xia Ping could not be washed away even by the waters of 3 rivers. They wanted nothing more than to skin Xia Ping alive. At the same time, when they saw the 2 peerless beauties, Tu Linglong and Qing Wan, being defiled by Xia Ping every day, they were so jealous that they were about to go crazy. Tell me, little girl, where is Xia Ping? If you don't say it, I'll teach you a lesson. We have so many brothers here. Who do you want to serve later? Wu Quan stared coldly at Tu Linglong with an evil look on his face. Bah, a bunch of despicable humans. Stop dreaming. I won't say anything. Tu Linglong snorted coldly. Won't say anything? You're so loyal to Xia Ping that you can't bear to leave him after sleeping with him? Wu Quan said with a fake smile. It's okay. I'll make you forget him later. The other human grandmasters laughed sinisterly. What do you want? Don't come over, or I'll flip out. Tu Linglong glared at the group of human grandmasters. Flip out? How are you going to flip out at a time like this? Why don't you do it for me? When Wu Quan and the others heard this, it was as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. They felt that this was just a futile struggle. The leader of the drought demon tribe, Han Ge, was just behind them. He was a king. With such an expert by their side, no matter how the demon struggled, it would be useless. You guys are a little too much. Qing Wan's expression was calm as she looked at the group of human grandmasters. It seemed that no emotions could be seen on her face. Too much. What's going to happen next is too much. You actually want to protect that slut, Xia Ping. You guys sure are loyal. Since when are demons and humans so united? Have you guys been brainwashed by him? Wu Quan's expression was ferocious. I'd like to see if you can still be so stubborn after being tortured. Go and capture her immediately. I want to serve her personally. He no longer wanted to talk nonsense with this group of ignorant people. Han Ge seemed to be impatient, and a murderous aura spread from behind him. Whoosh! Immediately, more than 10 human grandmasters stood up and wanted to capture Qing Wan and Tu Linglong. There's no other way. All of a sudden, Qing Wan took out a transparent ball from her body and quickly instilled her demonic power into it. Immediately, a burst of energy erupted from the ball. With Qing Wan's body as the center, it formed a huge energy shield and quickly expanded, covering a radius of 1 kilometer. Any enemy that was hostile to Qing Wan would be quickly expelled by this energy shield. Bang! 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 In an instant, more than 10 human grandmasters were caught off guard and were sent flying for 2 to 3 kilometers. They coughed up blood on the spot and finally fell from the sky, creating a human-shaped pit. What? Isn't this the demon race's treasure, the heaven defense orb? Why is it with you? Wu Quan and the others were shocked. They immediately recognized the treasure in Qing Wan's hand. The human race and the demon race had fought many times and knew each other's background very well. And this heaven defense orb had also appeared many times in the war between the demon race and the human race. Every time it caused great results, it left a deep impression in the human grandmaster's memory. Lu Qi and the other old grandmasters were also very shocked. They didn't expect Qing Wan to take out such a treasure. This treasure was extremely powerful. Once it was used, it would create an absolute defense. It was impossible for a normal king to break through the defense of this heaven defense orb. This has nothing to do with you. Qing Wan's expression was calm. For this trial, the entire myriad demon mountain attached great importance to it. In order to prevent any accidents from happening in this trial, in order to not let the rare geniuses Qing Wan and Tu Linglong die prematurely, some old monsters of the myriad demon mountain put in a lot of effort and took out various treasures for Qing Wan and Tu Linglong to protect themselves. And this heaven defense orb was one of them. Other than that, they also had many life-saving methods. Treasures. In the distance, the drought demon tribe leader Han Ji's eyes suddenly lit up. A trace of greed surged in his heart because it was basically impossible to obtain treasures in this mystic realm. Therefore, the 5 tribe leaders were all empty-handed. Chapter 10:18. Swoosh. In the blink of an eye, Hanga didn't waste any time talking to Qing Wan and the other demons. It flew up from the back and threw a punch in the air. The punch was as heavy as Mount Tai, and it ruthlessly smashed on the defensive cover. With a boom, the protective shield shook back and forth. It was almost deformed by the impact, and the entire ground was shaking as if there was a magnitude 5 or 6 earthquake. The monsters were shocked and stared at Han Gu, afraid that Han Ji's punch would break the barrier. If that happened, they would be dead for sure. However, what made them rejoice was that this punch was unable to break through the power of the Celestial Dipper defense sphere. It only made a slight dent before it bounced back and sent Han Gu flying. What a powerful defense. Han Ji's eyes narrowed. He retreated a few hundred meters and stared at the barrier. His fist was numb. Even with his purple mansion realm strength, he couldn't break it in a short time. One could imagine how powerful this artifact was. It's useless. This artifact has an absolute defense. Even if a divine power realm cultivator attacks, it will be able to resist for a moment. Purple Palace realm cultivators may be powerful, but they won't be able to damage this artifact. Qing Wan stood on the spot and controlled the heavenly defense sphere. She looked at Han Gu indifferently. I advise you to leave now. You won't get any benefits if you stay here. Leave? Han Gu laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Do you think you can stop me with just an artifact? No matter how powerful this artifact is, how long can you last? The monsters looked gloomy. Han Gu had found their weakness. Once the heavenly defense sphere was activated, they wouldn't be able to move and would consume a large amount of energy. Even if Qing Wan was a divine beast and had 10 times the demonic power of a Master Realm monster, she couldn't last for too long. There would be a time when she couldn't hold on anymore. In short, as long as they continued to surround this place, they would wait until the Azure Luan ran out of food and ammunition. At that time, there would be fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. It won't take too long. We just need to wait for reinforcements. Qing Wan looked at Han Gu without any fear. Reinforcements? Interesting. What reinforcements do you have? Call them over. If I can't kill him in 3 moves, I'll change my surname to yours. Han Gu sneered. Really? Whoosh. Suddenly, a voice rang out. At the same time, a figure leaped over from the distance like a bolt of lightning. In the blink of an eye, he landed in front of everyone, smashing a huge crater in the ground. What? The guards of the 5 major races were shocked. They did not expect that reinforcements would really arrive. They all looked over. Xiaoping. Wu Quan and the others immediately recognized that the person was Xiaoping. They were all shocked. Who would have thought that the person they had been searching for would directly appear in front of them? Human, how dare you? How dare you appear in front of me? Han Ji's face was gloomy. It had clearly recognized the culprit and could not help but clench its fists. Xiaoping ignored Han Ge and looked around. He found that Lu Qi and the other 3 human grandmasters were lying on the ground, as well as Tu Linglong, Qing Wan, and the other demons were also seriously injured. He immediately frowned. At the same time, he also found that Wu Quan and the others had also appeared beside the 5 major races like loyal lackeys. He immediately understood the situation at the scene like the back of his hand. I see. Wu Quan, have you all betrayed humanity and become the lackeys of this group of aliens? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and stared at Wu Quan and the others, revealing a trace of killing intent. Shut up, Wu Quan shouted angrily. It's all your fault, B*TCH. If you had not left us to die and deliberately used us as bait, trying to kill us, we would not have ended up like this. It's all your fault, B*TCH. If it wasn't for you, we would definitely not have ended up like this. He pushed all the blame on Xiaoping, thinking that if this B** did not appear, they would not have ended up in such a miserable state. It could be said that the reason why they became bandits was because of this B***. If this was in ancient times, this B** would undoubtedly be Gao Qiu, Qinhui. He could be said to be a treacherous official throughout the ages. God knew how many loyal officials were forced to Liangshan and how many loyal people lost their lives. That's right. If it wasn't for you, son of a B***, we would not have ended up in such a miserable state. I guess you also did not expect that we would be able to survive. Fortunately, we are lucky and have a long life. Otherwise, we would have been killed by you. Even if we went to hell, we would not be able to complain. Today is the day you die, B***. You won't be able to escape even if you grow wings. LV Shan and the others were all filled with killing intent as they stared at Xiaoping. When they thought of the torture they had received before and how it was all because of this B***, they were so angry that they could not wait to rush forward and tear him into pieces. No one could imagine that today they would definitely return the pain they had suffered to this B** 100-fold. Are you done? Then go to hell. Xiaoping looked at Wu Quan and the others indifferently. He did not waste any time talking to them. Since this group of people had chosen to be his enemy and become traitors, they were his mortal enemies. There was no need for him to be polite with them. Boom! In an instant, with a thought, the golden slime on his wrist immediately changed. In an instant, it turned into a 3-foot sharp blade that emitted a cold light. Then it stabbed into the ground. In the next second, hundreds of extremely sharp blades appeared on the ground. It was like a mountain of blades from hell. They covered a radius of hundreds of meters and happened to cover the ground where Wu Quan and the others were standing. Not good. Damn it. Dot. Wu Quan and the others had goosebumps. They did not expect Xiaoping to be so cruel. He did not waste any time talking to them and directly chose to attack. Moreover, it was a fatal attack. The blades emerged from the ground one after another. It was completely beyond their expectations. They did not even feel any killing intent coming at them. It was impossible to dodge in advance. By the time they realized it, the blades had already emerged from the ground. The ground was easily torn apart like it was made of paper. The sword Qi was like a beam that pierced the heavens and the earth. Bang! 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 Unsurprisingly, the blades pierced through the bodies of Wu Quan and the others. They were like barbecued meat and were directly skewered together. Their bodies were pierced with bloody holes and blood dripped down. In just a few breaths, the radius of hundreds of meters had turned into a small blood lake. Yu. Wu Quan and the others widened their eyes and stared at Xiaoping. Their eyes were filled with unwillingness. Originally, they wanted to take revenge on Xiaoping. They wanted to take revenge. However, they had died in a single exchange, and it was truly a grievous death. Chapter 1019. He killed dozens of human supreme masters in one move. He's too strong. Crow of Misfortune was scared to death when he saw this. He couldn't believe his eyes at all. Compared with before, It's simply incomparable. Could it be that this bad human has become stronger again? Tu Linglong blinked her pure eyes. She felt that this human was simply a monster, a ferocious beast in human skin. He has indeed become stronger. It seems that he has been promoted to the Supreme Master Ninth Realm. Cyan Luan was speechless. She was now completely numb. Since she met this human, her worldview had been refreshed. Many things that she thought were impossible had been done by this human. Now, even if this human did something exaggerated, she wouldn't be shocked anymore. Damn, he broke through again. What the hell is wrong with this human? Is he going to let us live? He broke through so easily. Doesn't he have a bottleneck? If all human beings are such monsters, then there's no need to fight. Just be their demon pets. Metal Tiger and other monsters were all stunned. They were all the sons of the Demon King, and they stayed in the Wanyao Mountain, a place where there were many strong people, but they were also shocked by Xiaoping's performance. Before, they had wanted to surpass Xiaoping, but now they didn't. The speed of this bastard's progress was too shocking. It was not in line with common sense. These monsters were so shocked, not to mention Lu Qi and the other 3 human Supreme Masters. They didn't regard him as a human being, but as a rare monster. Those monsters were just shocked, but the soldiers of the 5 races were also scared to death. Their hair stood on end, and they had goosebumps all over their bodies, as if they had fallen into an ice cave. Everything that had happened just now had happened too quickly. If Xiaoping had targeted them instead of Wu Quan and the other human masters, they would have died in an instant, just like those human masters. After all, in terms of strength, they might not be a match for these human Supreme Masters in a one-on-one fight. The reason why they were able to capture these human Supreme Masters was because they had a large number of people, or in other words, a king. How could he be so fast? There's no murderous intent. Even the leader of the Drought Demon race, Han Gu, couldn't help but take dozens of steps back, distancing himself from Xiaoping. No one was more shocked than him. The stronger one was, the more they could sense how terrifying Xiaoping's move was. When ordinary living beings fought, no matter what, there would always be a faint murderous aura around them. Powerful martial artists would develop a sixth sense, and by sensing these murderous auras, they would be able to make predictions in advance. But it was different just now. When those swords pierced out from the ground, there was no killing intent at all. They were soundless and silent. It had no idea where those swords had come from or where they were headed. It had no premonition. This greatly weakened its combat power. It was as if it was fighting an invisible enemy. No killing intent. Xiaoping smiled. He understood Han Ji's doubts very well, but this was a very normal thing. After all, it was a golden slime that had attacked. It was a simple-minded creature with only one thought in its mind, and that was to eat. To a golden slime, killing an enemy was no different from cutting a watermelon. It naturally wouldn't have any murderous intent, and it didn't have complicated thoughts like humans. It was as if it was in a pure and innocent state. But when it was killing an enemy, it was a very terrifying state because it couldn't be predicted or judged. It would cause the enemy to be extremely confused, and they wouldn't know where they were coming from. This also increased the power of the Golden Slime's Infinity Blade by several folds. It was equivalent to a super killer. Han Gu. Xiaoping looked at Han Gu indifferently. Have you decided how you want to die? He held the Infinity Blade and pointed it at Han Gu lightly. With his body as the center, a terrifying aura was generated, covering a radius of a few kilometers. Immediately, the sand rolled, and the murderous intent spread. How do I want to die? Hearing this, Han Gu was so angry that he laughed. He was a monarch of the Purple Mansion realm, and his opponent was just a human master. How dare he ask him how he wanted to die? He was overestimating himself. You were lucky enough to escape with your life, and now you're so arrogant? This time, I won't underestimate you anymore. I'll use all my strength and kill you. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Gu attacked. This time, it didn't dare to underestimate Xiaoping at all. After the previous battle, it knew that although this human was only at the Master Realm, his strength was unfathomable. It was beyond its imagination that he could challenge someone of a higher cultivation level. Therefore, in order to kill this extremely dangerous human, it used all its strength from the beginning. It wanted to completely eliminate this dangerous human. Boom! Immediately, the drought demon bloodline in its body boiled, and violent flames came out from countless pores on its body. The black flames rose to a height of 4 to 5 meters and spread over 100 meters. The weeds and trees on the ground were quickly evaporated and turned into ashes when they came into contact with the black flames. Even the rocks were burned into powder. On the ground, the black flames spread as if they were in a hell of black flames. Any living creature that dared to enter this area of fire would be burned to death quickly. The soldiers of the 5 clans were so scared that their faces turned pale. They retreated one after another for fear of being involved. Because Cyan Wan and the other monsters were protected by the Celestial Defense Ball, they didn't worry that they would be affected. They watched this earth-shattering battle nervously. Go to hell. Xiaoping didn't dodge. He held the Infinity Warblade and slashed at it. The first move of the 4 Seasons sword method, continuous spring rain. In an instant, beams of sword chi burst out from the Infinity Warblade. They were so sharp that they seemed to be able to cut the void. The whole world seemed to be raining heavily at this time. However, this heavy rain was not ordinary raindrops. It was condensed by sword chi. Each raindrop could pierce through a mountain. Countless raindrops of sword chi gathered together and turned into a line. This line gathered all the power of sword chi and slashed at it. It was like a horizontal line that separated heaven and earth, containing the destructive power that could cut through everything. Xiaoping's own gang chi, the power of his swordsmanship, and the sharpness of the Infinity Warblade. When the 3 superimposed, the power of sword chi was unimaginable. Oh no! Drought Spear's expression changed, and its hair stood on end. It could feel that it couldn't block this sword chi at all. Even the leader of the rock giants, who is known to have a diamond body, probably wouldn't be able to block this sword. Not to mention that it was defending against ordinary kings. It tried to dodge, but the speed of his sword chi was too fast. It was so fast that it didn't even have time to move. Bang! In the next second, the sword chi cut through the black flames on its body and reached its body directly. With a Pucci, Drought Spear's body was cut in half. It fell to the ground just like that. Chapter 10:20. No way. Hanggu is dead. Tu Linglong and the other monsters were dumbfounded when they saw Han Ji's body being cut in half by Xiaoping's sword. They were even more shocked than Xiaoping's advancement to the 9th sky of the Supreme Power Realm. After all, Han Ji's identity was the patriarch of the Drought Demon clan, a King Realm cultivator. Although he was just an ordinary King Realm cultivator, he was not comparable to a Master Realm cultivator. The gap between a Master Realm and a King Realm cultivator was like a chasm. A Master Realm cultivator could not defeat a King Realm cultivator. This was the consensus of countless creatures in the Cloud Realm, and no one could break it for thousands of years. But what was going on now? Xiaoping, a human at the 9th sky of the Supreme Power Realm, killed Hanggu, who was in the Purple Mansion Realm, with one move. This was too exaggerated. If this matter was spread to the outside world, it would definitely cause an uproar. My God, how powerful is this human? He is only at the 9th sky of the Supreme Power Realm, but he killed a King Realm cultivator with one move. The Crow of Misfortune and the other monsters were dumbfounded. They knew that this human was a monster, but they didn't expect him to be so powerful. The iron rules of the Cloud Realm that had existed for thousands of years were broken by him, and the so-called common sense was all torn apart. Is Hanggu a fake King Realm cultivator? Tu Linglong blinked her eyes and thought that Hanggu might be a fake. Otherwise, how could he be killed by Xiaoping with one move? He couldn't even escape. It was really a grievous death. A fake King Realm cultivator? Many monsters were speechless. If Hanggu could hear Tu Linglong's words, he would definitely die of anger again. It was impossible to pretend to be a King Realm cultivator. Whether he had the strength of a King Realm cultivator or not, they would know after a fight. Probably no one knew this better than them. According to the strength Hanggu had shown before, it alone was enough to kill them dozens of times. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to know Xia Ping's whereabouts from them, he would have killed them long ago. This human is too abnormal. Qing Wan couldn't help but curse. As a divine beast, although its bloodline was not very strong, it was still considered to be talented. However, it was only a legend to kill a king realm cultivator at the Grandmaster realm. If it was in the ancient times, when the inheritance had not been cut off, it might not be a big problem. But now, without the inheritance of her ancestors, it was simply a pipe dream for her to achieve this. Fortunately, it's a human. Lu Qi, Guo Tsuani, and Li Yun were rejoicing. If Xiaoping was not a human, but a demon from the Wanyao mountain, then the human race would be in danger for the next 1,000 years. If such a monster were to become an enemy, he would undoubtedly be the most terrifying enemy. However, as an ally, it was definitely the most powerful assistance. At this time, the soldiers of the 5 tribes were also stunned. They watched as the chief of the Drought Demon tribe, Han Gu, died tragically on the spot. They couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. After a minute, they were still unwilling to accept this reality. Impossible. It must be an illusion. This must be an illusion. Lord Han Gu is a king, not some random Tom, Dick, or Harry. Now he's been killed by a human, and can't even escape? That's a little too much. What method did this human use? Could it be that he isn't a grandmaster at all, but a monster that has advanced to the king realm a long time ago? That's impossible. This secret territory has a special rule of the heaven and earth. Apart from the 5 tribes, all cultivators who have surpassed the grandmaster realm will be expelled. That being said, it's not impossible to avoid this kind of rule. Maybe there are some special secret treasures that can conceal the master's cultivation and deceive everyone. Yes, that explains it. This bastard human is obviously pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Lord Han Gu didn't realize it and fell into his trap. Shameless and despicable. He is a king, but he is pretending to be a grandmaster. Do you have any shame? The soldiers of the 5 tribes were all cursing. They thought that they had guessed the truth. They thought that this human was a king wearing the skin of a grandmaster. They thought that he must have used some shameless method to hide his cultivation. This could explain why this human was so strong. The soldiers of the 5 tribes have been surrounded and killed many times. If this human was a king, then everything was possible. But thinking about it, they felt very sad. They had been stupid enough to send a large number of elite soldiers to kill a king. It was like sending sheep to a tiger. It was not a siege. You should go too. After killing Han Gu, Xiaoping turned around and looked at the soldiers indifferently. His body emitted a shocking, murderous aura. Damn it, run. Go back and report this immediately. Tell them that this human is pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Break up and scatter. One of us must escape. Feeling the solid, murderous aura, the expressions of the soldiers of the 5 tribes changed. They felt like sheep being targeted by a fierce tiger. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, they split up and fled in all 4 directions. The rock giant ran with all his might. It was like he was running a 100-meter race. Relying on his long legs, he tried to cross the mountains. Hitorigami used the power of fire. Like a jet, he spat out flames behind him, creating a strong propelling force. He rushed hundreds of meters in an instant. The Blackwood race had many legs. Hundreds of roots ran with all their might. The slime race rolled on the ground. Some were like rubber balls. Some were like elastic beads, bouncing on the ground and tearing the air apart. The machine race was not slow either. Mechanical wings grew out of their backs. They flapped their wings and controlled the air. Dong! Xiaoping did not even look. He stabbed the Infinity War blade into the ground. Instantly, the ground cracked and countless cracks appeared. In just an instant, the Infinity War blade extended on the ground. The soil on the ground was like tofu. It was easily torn apart by the blade and rushed towards the ground. Immediately, hundreds and thousands of blades appeared on the ground. It was like a hell of knives. Under the sunlight, they emitted a bone-chilling light. Those aliens who wanted to escape could not escape at all. No matter how fast they were not as fast as the Infinity War blade. They caught up in an instant. Bang! Bang! These blades easily pierced through the bodies of the aliens. Some were cut in half, some had their chests pierced, and some were chopped into pieces. Blood flowed everywhere. In a few breaths, the soldiers of the 5 tribes were all killed. Not a single one escaped. They all died on the spot. Chapter 10:21. Boom! Seeing that Drought Spear and the soldiers of the 5 major races were all dead, Qing Wan also withdrew the heavenly defense sphere. Suddenly, many monsters walked out of the sphere. When they saw the large number of corpses on the ground and Drought Spear's tragic death, they all looked at Xiaoping with awe. It could be said that even if he hadn't advanced to the king realm, he was no different from a real king who could kill a king. Most importantly, according to this abnormal talent, no monster thought that he would be stuck at the master realm forever. If even such a monster couldn't advance to the king realm, then there was no one else in the world who could. Xiaoping withdrew the infinite warblade and walked in front of Qing Wan. He immediately saw the heavenly defense sphere in her hand and said, "This sphere is very good. It can actually resist the attack of a king. Can I take a look at it?" He blinked and looked at Qing Wan innocently. "Don't even think about it. Can you get it back?" Qing Wan flatly refused and looked at the hooligan angrily. To be honest, everyone knew this hooligan's character. If the pearl really fell into the hands of this bad guy, how could she get it back? It was clearly like throwing a meat bun at a dog and stuffing it directly into his own pocket. Unless she was crazy, she would never agree to this kind of thing. How stingy. I saved your lives, but I can't even take a look at it? Xiaoping felt that his request was very reasonable. These monsters were simply gauging the heart of a gentleman with their own mean measure. Qing Wan said disdainfully, "Who needs your help? Even if you didn't come, I could still escape." She had many secret treasures on her. Even if she was attacked by a king, she wouldn't die. The reason why she didn't escape was because she was worried about the lives of the other monsters. However, if it really came to a critical moment, she couldn't care about the other monsters and could escape with Tu Linglong. Forget it. If you don't want to show me, then so be it. Xiaoping rolled his eyes. What other treasures do you have? Why are you so confident? Why don't you take them out for everyone to admire? He put forward his suggestion. Admire my ass. Qing Wan bared her teeth and glared at Xiaoping. He said it was a treasure in a trump card. If he took it out and exposed it, it wouldn't be a trump card anymore. Moreover, this bastard had ulterior motives. If the treasure he took out was too precious, it might be snatched away by this bandit. At that time, he would lose both his treasure and his life. However, after thinking about it for a moment, she looked at Xiaoping, her eyes shining brightly. Suddenly, she circulated her demonic energy and sent a voice transmission that only she and Xiaoping could hear. "I do have a lot of treasures on me, but if you want them, you can trade with me. If I'm not mistaken, you must have gained a lot of benefits from the encampments of the 5 major races. Maybe you've also obtained the 5 elements spirit fruit." Qing Wan's voice came over. She guessed that Xiaoping might have gotten the 5 element spirit fruit. Xiaoping's progress was too fast. A few days ago, he was at the 8th heaven of Supreme Power Realm, but now he had been promoted to the 9th heaven of Supreme Power Realm. If he hadn't received the help of rare treasures, how could he have made such rapid progress? No matter how talented he was, it was impossible. So what if I do? So what if I don't? Xiaoping said with a smile. With his current strength, he had nothing to fear. So what if someone found out that he had a 5-element spirit fruit on him? They wouldn't dare to rob him. If he didn't have the strength, he was afraid that countless people would covet him. But now he could even kill a king. If the enemy wanted to rob him, they had to think about whether he really had the strength to do so or not. Was he courting death? Sure enough, hearing this, Qing Wan was shocked. She knew that according to this bastard's character, how could he stay in the same place for no reason and willingly block the enemy for them? This treacherous human must have found that there were mature 5-element spirit fruits in the Holy Land. So he deliberately sent them away and secretly obtained the 5-element spirit fruit, wanting to keep it for himself. Although the process of her guess was wrong, in terms of the result, it was correct. Qing Wan stared at Xiaoping and said, "I won't take advantage of you. I believe that you have obtained a lot of five-element spirit fruits. Otherwise, there would be no room for negotiation. I don't need a lot, just enough for 2 people. She wanted to get the five-element spirit fruit for herself and 2 Linglong. As for other monsters, she didn't care so much. You also know how precious the five-element spirit fruit is. If you want to get it, you have to pay a high price. Are you willing to exchange this celestial defense ball with me? Xiaoping smiled slightly. Don't even think about it. Qingwan said impatiently. The celestial defense ball is the treasure of the Wanyao Mountain clan. We can't lose it. Also, this is the treasure of the Wanyao Mountain. It's only temporarily lent to me. After this is over, I still have to return it. She knew that this bastard human was eyeing the celestial defense ball on her. If that's the case, what other treasures do you have? If it's not valuable, don't take it out. Xiaoping was disinterested. He felt that other than the celestial defense ball, Qingwan didn't have too many treasures on her. I have 3 small teleportation talismans on me. Qingwan said directly. This is a talisman left by the ancient monster race. Once it's torn, you can instantly teleport 1,000 miles. This is a life-saving talisman. Having one is equivalent to having another life. Not sure if we can exchange. Small teleportation talisman. Xiaoping's eyes twinkled. He also got a few small teleportation talismans in the universe virtual network. However, they could only be used in the virtual network. He didn't expect them to exist in the real world. It was no wonder that Qingwan was so confident and didn't worry about dying under the king level. If she had a few small teleportation talismans, she might be able to escape from the king level at any time. Such talismans were indeed life-saving talismans at critical moments. Xiaoping rolled his eyes. No, although it sounds powerful, it's just a one-time use talisman. Moreover, there are only 3 of them. After 3 uses, they'll be gone. How can it compare to the 5 elements spirit fruit that can help me advance to the king level? These things aren't enough. What? Hearing this, Qingwan was so angry that smoke was coming out her mouth. What do you mean by these things? One-time use talismans? These are life-saving talismans. They're precious treasures passed down from the ancient times. Once used, they'll be gone. God knows how many kings wish to get a talisman like this. This way, they can come and go freely in some dangerous places without worrying about dying in these dangerous places. However, this bastard didn't care about it at all. He felt that it wasn't enough. She really wanted to slap this bastard human's face with her shoe. He was too greedy. However, Xiaoping wasn't willing to exchange. She couldn't do anything about it. After all, the initiative was in Xiaoping's hands. Moreover, she urgently needed the 5-element spirit fruit to improve her strength. Chapter 1022. In order to prevent others from knowing that she and Xiaoping were exchanging treasures, Xianwan and Xiaoping temporarily left the valley and went to a secret place several miles away to communicate. What treasure do you want to exchange with me? So secretive. Xiaoping curiously looked at Xianwan. He felt that since she was so confident in exchanging the 5-element spirit fruit with him, such a treasure must be very precious. It is this thing. Xianwan took out a piece of bronze fragment from her body. When this bronze fragment appeared, it immediately filled the surroundings with an ancient aura, faintly emitting a terrifying pressure, as if a mountain was descending. It was engraved with densely packed, veined patterns, like interweaving down marks, seemingly containing a mysterious power. As if a variety of mythological beasts had appeared, the aura was astonishing. What is this thing? Xiaoping's pupils contracted. He immediately felt that this bronze fragment was not simple. It was incomparably mysterious, seemingly containing a monstrous killing intent, as if a vicious beast was living in it. On the bronze fragment, there was a trace of purple blood, and a purple mist emerged. It was noble, ancient, and unfathomable, not knowing what kind of mysterious creature had left it. My God, this is a sacred tool fragment. Take it. You must take it. Corinne saw this bronze fragment and immediately shouted in Xiaoping's mind, obviously very shocked. Sacred tool fragment? What is this thing? Xiaoping secretly asked. Corinne immediately said, Do you know that there are several grades of magic weapons in the universe? The lowest grade is a treasured tool, which can be refined by a cultivator of the treasure refining realm. Of course, the power of the treasure tools refined by cultivators of different levels is also different, among which there are 3, 6, and 9 grades. And above the treasure tools are the spirit tools. The so-called spirit tools are treasure tools that have given birth to a tool spirit. A magic weapon with a tool spirit is far more powerful than a treasure tool, but there are very few magic weapons that have given birth to a tool spirit. Only high-level cultivators have the means to obtain a spirit tool. Spirit tool. Xiaoping also knew why a spirit tool surpasses a treasure tool. This is also a matter of course. If compared with a computer, then it is the difference between an ordinary computer and a smart computer. The gap between the two is huge, simply not on the same level. But Corinne did not stop talking and continued. And above the spirit tool is a sacred tool. It is a life source magic weapon refined by a sage. Its power is so formidable that it makes one's hair stand on end. Just a casual attack is already stronger than a Star Destroyer cannon. However, it is extremely difficult to refine a saint artifact. First of all, the materials needed to refine a saint artifact are extremely rare and priceless in the universe. Even a saint would have to pay a huge price to obtain them. Xiaoping blinked his eyes. Even if the sacred tool is very precious, this is just a fragment. It has been broken by someone, so there is probably no value left. Stupid. Corinne hated iron for not becoming steel. A rotten ship also has 3 nails, Even if it is only a fragment, it is still a fragment of a sacred tool. I don't know how astonishing the value of the material is. If I were to auction it in the universe, it would definitely fetch a sky-high price. Who knows how many tycoons would want to get their hands on this saint artifact material? The reason for that is because by melting down the sacred artifact materials and then fusing them into a prized artifact, the prized artifact's power will increase by tens to hundreds of times. It will become a super killing weapon that no one will be able to stop. Just one piece of this material is worth who knows how many prized artifacts. This girl doesn't know what's good for her. That's why she took out this sacred artifact material to exchange for the 5 elements spirit fruit. If it were in the universe, who knows how many 5 elements spirit fruits it would be worth. She demanded that Xiaoping must get his hands on this sacred artifact fragment. Even if he doesn't auction this sacred artifact fragment, it can also be swallowed by the golden slime. At that time, the countless war blades it can transform will become even more terrifying. Maybe it will have a trace of the might of a sacred artifact. Just this one piece? Is there anything else? Xiaoping was greedy and wanted a few more pieces. Blue once saw through this bastard's thoughts and said with disdain, "Just this one piece. Do you want it or not? This is a secret treasure that I inadvertently obtained from the Myriad Monster Mountain's treasury. There is no more." She spread her hands, indicating that this was her final bottom price. She wouldn't be able to take out any more. Okay, then it's a deal. Xiaoping grabbed with his big hand and immediately took out 2 portions of 5 elements spirit fruit. Sure enough, there is 5 elements spirit fruit. Blue One gritted her teeth. This bastard human really held back. Everyone obviously went together, but all the benefits were obtained by this shameless human. She really wanted to knock this shameless human out and loot all the treasures on him. That way, she would probably become the richest female monster in the Myriad Monster Mountain. However, she resisted the urge and took out the 3 minor transference talismans and the bronze fragment. The 2 exchanged with each other. The scene was very peaceful. Okay, this matter is over. Don't go around saying that I have 5 elements spirit fruit. I don't want others to know about this. Xiaoping reminded. Of course, I won't tell anyone. Blue Wan nodded. It was also a top secret that she had 2 portions of 5 element spirit fruit. Otherwise, if other monsters knew about it, she didn't dare to guarantee what they would think. After all, a monster that advanced to the King Realm was really too big. Even if she was the Myriad Monster Mountain Saintess, it was very difficult to resist such a greedy monster. No one could guarantee that they wouldn't strike a lethal blow in secret when facing such beasts. It was better to wait until she and Tu Linglong ate the 5-element spirit fruits and advanced into the king realm. At that time, no one would be able to do anything to them. Whoosh! After finishing the transaction, Xiaoping and Blue Luan returned. Sister Blue Luan, you weren't bullied by that bad guy, right? Having just returned, Tu Linglong kept touching Blue Luan's body. She was afraid that she was missing something precious and that it might have been ruined by that shameless human. I'm fine. Blue Luan angrily knocked her little head. Okay. Tu Linglong touched her little head and asked curiously, but Sister Blue Luan, what exactly did you talk about with that bad guy? Why were you gone for so long? The other monsters were also very curious and pricked up their ears to eavesdrop. It's not a big deal. We were just chatting. Blue Luan smiled slightly and avoided the important matter. She wanted to skim over this matter and didn't want to continue discussing it. The other monsters were extremely disappointed, but since Blue Luan didn't want to say it, none of them could force her. Okay, don't talk nonsense here. Xiaoping looked at the monsters and said, I heard the news that the ancestral altar of the 5 clans is about to be completed. Once they complete the ancestral altar, they will definitely contact their companions in the depths of the universe. At that time, I'm afraid that the entire cloud world will be in danger of being annihilated. So, what we need to do now is very simple. We need to destroy the ancestral altar on ancient Turtle Mountain. If they dare to stop us, we will directly destroy them. He was full of killing intent. If any enemy wanted to harm the human world, he would definitely not be lenient. Chapter 1023. In the center of the secret plane, there stood a super mountain range. It was incomparably majestic, reaching a height of 13,000 meters. From afar, it looked like a giant tortoise lying on the ground. The mountain peak was shrouded in mist, making it impossible to see the peak clearly. Anyone would feel insignificant at the foot of the mountain. This mountain was ancient Turtle Mountain. At this moment, wooden fences were set up halfway up the mountain. Tens of thousands of guards from the 5 races were guarding this place. The security was tight, preventing anyone from coming up. Have you heard about what happened recently? It's said that the sacred tree of our 5 races has disappeared. I've heard about this for a long time. I heard that it was done by a human. What? Which human is so daring to do such a thing? Isn't he afraid of death? It seems to be a human called Xiaoping. The chief of the Drought Demon tribe personally went to kill him, but he escaped. How can this be? The chief is a king realm expert. How can he not kill a puny human? I'm not sure. Maybe the human played some tricks and made the chief careless. In short, he escaped in the end. The chief of the Drought Demon tribe is still chasing him. He runs fast, but it doesn't matter even if we can't catch him. Our ancestral altar is about to be completed. When we contact our companions in the depths of the universe, the human will definitely die. That's right. When the armies of the 5 races arrive, where can that human run to? At that time, not only will he die, even the humans related to him will die. They've locked us up for so long. It's time to collect some interest. Yes, although it's not a human who locked us up, they still deserve to die. All living beings in the sky realm must die. Many of the guards gnashed their teeth in anger. They had been trapped in this place for God knows how many years, and the accumulated resentment was not a joke. Once it erupted, they would not be able to solve this problem without a bloodbath. This was a war between races. It was either you die or I live. Stop. Suddenly, one of the guards noticed a figure in the distance. He immediately shouted, "This is a restricted area. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. What are you doing here? If you don't tell us why you're here, we'll kill you immediately." It warned the figure that was trying to enter. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, a dense crowd of figures immediately appeared in front of the checkpoint. It was Xiaoping, the 3 great human grandmasters, Tu Linglong, and the other demons. There were at least 100 of them. Basically, all the surviving demons were gathered in this place and followed Xiaoping here. It wasn't that they weren't afraid of death, nor were they afraid of Xiaoping. It was because they were very clear that once the ancestral altar was completed, the first to die would be the countless monsters of the 1,000-monster mountain. Even if they had to pay with their lives, they had to stop the 5 great races. Therefore, their goal was to destroy the ancestral altar. It's a human. That human Xia Ping has appeared. One of the guards immediately screamed, recognizing Xia Ping, who was standing in front of him. This was because Xia Ping's image had basically been transmitted to the hands of every soldier, and they would recognize him even if he turned into ashes. Kill him. Well, the rock giant elders roared. He made a prompt decision and gave the order. They knew that this group of humans and demons had not come to this place to treat them to a meal. They had come with hostility. Even if they did not come with enmity, they were still irreconcilable enemies with humans and monsters. They would kill each other as soon as they saw each other. There was no need for any other reason, so they immediately attacked. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, these soldiers immediately rushed forward in a mighty manner. Thousands of soldiers were like thousands of soldiers and horses. Their momentum was amazing, and it was enough to crush everything. Do it. Xia Ping stood with his hands clasped behind his back and gave the order. Immediately, hundreds of monsters immediately took out a miniature nuclear bomb, which was taken out of the space ring by Xia Ping. All the weapons were given to the group of monsters. He also stored 2,000 to 3,000 of them, which was an amazing number. There was no need to worry about running out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The next second, these nuclear bombs were thrown at the group of soldiers. It should be known that these monsters were all masters of the Guru realm. The accuracy of their hidden weapons was frighteningly accurate. Each of them was in charge of an area and carried out a covering attack, like a missile bombing. Rumble. In an instant, these miniature nuclear bombs exploded at the same time, instantly affecting all the flat land on the mountainside. The whole mountain shook violently, as if there was a magnitude 7 or 8 earthquake. A huge black mushroom cloud rose out of thin air, condensing into a substantial sound wave and spreading in all directions, shattering huge rocks along the way. The soldiers were even more miserable. They were close to the center of the explosion. Even the captain of the Guru realm could not withstand it and was blown to pieces in an instant. Countless deep pits appeared on the ground, and broken limbs and bones were everywhere. In just a few minutes, more than half of the thousands of soldiers were killed or injured. This is the sharp weapon of civilization. Is it useful to have more people? They're all here to die. Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back, feeling very emotional. The power of a nuclear bomb was really amazing. Tu Linglong and the other monsters looked at Xia Ping speechlessly. They also knew that the power of the nuclear bomb was amazing. It was definitely a divine weapon in a war which could destroy a group of cannon fodder in an instant. The problem was, how on earth did this human carry so many nuclear bombs in? He had used up a batch before, but now he still had a pile of them. It was really amazing. They all suspected that this guy was carrying a gunpowder warehouse with him. If anyone dared to find trouble with this human, they would probably be in big trouble. No one knew how many nuclear bombs were thrown at them. Even if they were kings, they would be in trouble. However, it was fortunate that this human had prepared so many means. Otherwise, if he really faced this army of tens of thousands of people, he was afraid that many people would really die before he could reach the top of the mountain. Lu Qi, Gua, Suini, and Li Yun, the 3 old human gurus, were also speechless. They also felt that this young man was more and more abnormal. It was amazing that he was strong, but he also had so many tricks up his sleeves. There are still some defeated soldiers. Let's kill them. Xia Ping scanned with his mental strength and found that even under the explosion of hundreds of nuclear bombs, there were still some guru monsters who could survive. However, all of them were seriously injured, and their strength was reduced by more than half. Qing Wan and the other demons immediately attacked. After a while, all the injured soldiers were killed. Not a single one was spared. For them, it was too easy to deal with some seriously injured gurus. Let's go. Xia Ping waved his hand. His destination was not the middle of the mountain, but the top of the mountain. Without this group of soldiers blocking his way, the next step would be smooth. Chapter 1024. At the peak of ancient Turtle Mountain, Xia Ping and the others finally arrived at this place. When they looked up, they immediately saw a huge altar. The altar was dozens of meters tall and 2 to 3 kilometers long. It was made of special minerals and was extremely hard. There seemed to be a huge super array carved on it. The patterns of the array were dug out by a powerful force. They were like ravines that were filled with blood. The air was filled with the smell of blood. Vaguely, the array seemed to resonate with the heaven and earth. All the spiritual energy in a radius of hundreds of kilometers gathered at this place and poured into it, as if it had become a source of energy. At this moment, there were at least 100 elders of the 5 clans around the altar. Other than them, the leaders of the other 4 clans were here too. It seemed that the ancestral altar was close to completion. If Xia Ping's group didn't disturb them, they would be able to finish building the ancestral altar very soon. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Sensing the presence of Xia Ping's group, the elders of the 5 clans turned around and stared at the uninvited guests. The leader of the rock giant clan, Yin Bao, spoke first. He stared at Xia Ping and said, "I didn't think a human like you would dare to appear here. Such a huge commotion just now. The soldiers down there are probably all dead." His eyes revealed a frightening, cold light. Such a huge commotion had happened before. If it was a normal time, he would have gone down to check it out. However, he couldn't do it now. Because the ancestral altar was about to be completed, they basically couldn't leave. Otherwise, all their previous efforts would have been in vain and the loss would be irreparable. "Yes, they're all dead." Xia Ping nodded and admitted. "No, where's Han Ge? Han Ge should have gone to find trouble with you. He even sent a message that you were surrounded. How did you come to this place unharmed?" The leader of the Blackwood clan's face was gloomy. He felt something was wrong. "It's simple. He's also dead," Xia Ping said indifferently. "What?" The elders of the 5 clans were shocked. They couldn't believe this. Han Ge was the leader of the Drought Demon clan, a king-level warrior. How could he just die like that? However, if Han Ge wasn't dead, why did this group of people appear here unharmed? Even if Han Ge wasn't dead, he was probably in a precarious situation right now. The odds were against him. However, Han Ge was a king-level expert. What kind of tricks did these guys use to put Han Ge in such a difficult situation? Their eyes flickered, as if they wanted to see through Xia Ping's trump card. "You're here to stop us from building the ancestral altar?" The leader of the metal race stared at Xia Ping. The 5 races shouldn't have any deep grudges with the humans. Why are you helping the demons ruin our plans? If you're willing to stand on our side, you'll definitely gain the friendship of our 5 clans after everything is done. Even if the entire Cloud Realm is occupied by you humans, it doesn't matter. It drew a big pie for Xia Ping. Friendship? Hearing this, Xia Ping instantly smiled. When the armies of the 5 major races from the depths of the universe come, they won't be bringing friendship, but war. What you're saying right now is no different from farting. If you go back on your word and say that you want to wipe out the humans and completely occupy the Cloud Realm, what can we do to you? Do you think I'll believe you when you say such wishful thinking? It was the stupidest thing to put one's safety in the hands of the other party's good intentions. Hadn't they heard enough of the story of the farmer and the snake? Perhaps the other party really didn't care about the existence of the Cloud Realm. Perhaps they really didn't want to wipe out the humans, but it was also possible that they didn't like the humans and wanted to kill them all. Even if the 5 major races discovered that there were some resources they needed in the Cloud Realm and wanted to occupy this place, it was very likely that such a thing would happen. If it really happened, how could the humans in the Cloud Realm resist? Could they just close their eyes and wait for death? When the reinforcements of the 5 major races arrived, the ones in charge would not be the leaders, but the reinforcements. No matter how dignified they sounded, it was undeniable that they were wolves and tigers with the power to wipe out the creatures in the Cloud Realm at any time. Humph, you don't know how to appreciate favors. If that's the case, then I'll wipe you all out, build the ancestral altar, leave this damned place, go to the Cloud Realm, and kill all the humans and demons. Blood will flow like a river. The leader of the Metal Clan shouted angrily. With his body as the center, a tyrannical golden hepta chi burst out and swept the area within a radius of dozens of kilometers. Vaguely, the surrounding air seemed to be filled with the smell of metal. Even breathing in air was like breathing in a piece of scrap iron. It was extremely heavy. Boom! Seeing that the negotiation was not going to work, he knew that continuing to talk would be useless, so he immediately took action. At this moment, its hands had actually turned into two frightening blades, and it attacked Xiaoping. In an instant, dense sword chi appeared in the air, condensing into a substance. Each sword chi had the power to cut a mountain. It was extremely shocking. The sword chi enveloped Xiaoping like a big net, not giving him any space to escape. So strong. Tu Linglong and the other demons were forced to retreat. This kind of sword energy was condensed from magic power, was like a real sword. If an ordinary grandmaster were to come into contact with it, his gang chi defense would be instantly torn apart, and his entire body would be split in half. If they stayed where they were, they would probably be killed by the leader of the Metal Clan in a single move. This was not an enemy that masters like them could fight against. Yang got fist. Without saying a word, Xiaoping took a step forward. Golden flames that were dozens of feet tall immediately emerged from his body. Like a fire god, he punched out with a huge flaming fist. The flames surged, and the yang qi was overwhelming. Rocks, steel, and other materials within a radius of hundreds of meters around Xiaoping were instantly incinerated. The rocks even turned into magma, turning the area into a volcano. Rumble. As the fist punched out, the sword chi in the distance could not withstand such a high temperature and was instantly incinerated. It turned into a large amount of molten iron and fell from the sky. It was like a rain of fire, dripping and dripping, corroding the ground. Shocking, deep pits appeared, and the pits were filled with flames. The fist force even penetrated and passed through inch by inch, directly hitting the leader of the Metal Clan. What? Chapter 1025. The patriarch of the Metal Clan screamed. His whole body was sent flying across the ground, leaving a shocking mark on the ground that stretched for several kilometers. Finally, he smashed into the mountain wall, creating more than a dozen cracks. The earth trembled, and smoke and dust filled the air. It can't be. The elders of the 5 clans were stunned. They could see that he was only at the 9th heaven of Supreme Power Realm, but his combat power was simply earth-shattering. Even the patriarch of the Metal Clan could not withstand a punch from him. He was directly sent flying and seemed to be seriously injured. In front of this human, ordinary Supreme Power Realm masters would be instantly killed by one punch. At this time, they also recalled what Xiaoping had said just now. He said that the patriarch of the Drought Demon Clan, Han Ge, was already dead. They did not believe it before, thinking that it was simply a joke. However, seeing the strength that Xiaoping had displayed, it was not impossible. I see. In just a few days, you have become so powerful. Did you take away the 5 elements spirit tree of our 5 clans? Is that why you have obtained such a great benefit? Rockbow's face was gloomy. He recalled that the disappearance of the spirit tree of his clan had a great relationship with this human. Moreover, they could not think of any other way to make him so powerful in such a short period of time, except for the spirit tree of their clan. But the more it was so, the angrier they became. After all, this human strength was built on the pain of the 5 great races. He had only become so powerful because he had sucked their blood. Who could endure this? They wanted to tear this little thief into pieces. Why are you still wasting your breath on him? Just kill him. Since he dares to come and destroy our ancestral sacrificial altar, only death awaits him. No one will be able to save him. The leader of the Blackwood race roared with killing intent. Its body was a giant black tree that was hundreds of meters tall. There were thousands of vines growing all over its body, like thousands of tentacles. Each of them was no less flexible than an ordinary human's hand. Now that it attacked, it was really amazing. The vines shot out at a speed of more than 20 times the speed of sound, like God-killing spears. Even the air was quickly pushed away, rippling out in all directions. If one was hit by the vines, their entire body would explode. The vines were even stained with a black liquid, which was the poison of the Blackwood race. The poison within the bodies of ordinary Blackwood soldiers at the Grandmaster realm was already capable of killing countless living beings. Now, this was the patriarch of the Blackwood clan, a king realm cultivator, so the poison within his body was more than 100 times more terrifying. Even kings would die in a short period of time if they came into contact with it. Right, let's attack together. The slime chief also roared. He turned into a green sphere that continuously shrank until he was only the size of a glass bead. He bounced off the ground and instantly flew over like a sniper bullet. With such a small size and such a fast speed, ordinary creatures would not be able to withstand it. More often than not, the slime chief would pierce through their skulls and cause them to explode like watermelons. Dying. The patriarch of the rock giant tribe, Rock Bow, also nodded his head. Now was not the time to fight one-on-one, but a war between races. The ancestral altar could not be lost. He had to kill all of these enemies. Only then would he be able to settle this once and for all. Otherwise, if this human destroyed the ancestral altar, the 5 races would really have no hope of escaping this cage. Boom! Rock Giant's ultimate technique, multiple shadow fist. In the blink of an eye, Rock Bow also flew up from the ground. In an instant, there were hundreds of his figures on the ground. All of them were extremely similar, and it was impossible to distinguish them with the naked eye. But among all these figures, only one was real. If he could not find the Real Rock Bow among all these figures, he might not be able to withstand this attack. For a moment, it was as if there were hundreds of Rock Bow attacking the ground at the same time. It was impossible to tell which one was real and which was fake. With the strength of the rock giant, if he was hit by Rock Bow's fist, his entire body would probably shatter. Too strong. The Crow of Misfortune and the other monsters all held their breaths, dumbfounded. Even the Myriad Monster Mountain, they had seen a few Monster Kings fight, but those were just ordinary sparring. They had never fought to the death. But now, the situation was different. That was a Monster King going all out. The power they could unleash was completely different from usual. If they were careless, they might lose their lives immediately. Feeling the power displayed by these Monster Kings, they all felt hopeless. If they were on the battlefield, they would probably be killed in an instant. Black Vortex Ripple Fist. Xiaoping remained expressionless even in the face of the joint attack of the 3 kings. He punched out in the void, using a supreme martial art that he had created himself. His fist punched out. Immediately, with his fist as the center, a huge black whirlpool appeared. All the yuan qi in the surroundings spun crazily, as if even light was being sucked into the whirlpool. Anything that approached the whirlpool would be sucked in and instantly crushed to pieces. Oh no, damn, what kind of fist technique is this? Don't go near that human. The 3 Monster Kings were shocked. This was the first time they had seen such a shocking technique. With just one attack, their attacks seemed to have stopped. Rock Bow's multiple shadow fist was completely useless against Xiaoping. As soon as he approached the whirlpool, over 100 figures were swallowed up completely. All the fist energy turned into nothingness. The Monster King's true body also fell down, appearing on the ground. The Blackwood tribe leader's 1,000 vines looked extremely terrifying, but as soon as they approached Xiaoping's body, they were instantly sucked into the black whirlpool and crushed to pieces. No matter how tough an object was, it would be instantly crushed in front of the whirlpool. Once swallowed, there was no way to escape. The most miserable one was the slime tribe leader. It had actually foolishly charged into Xiaoping's body. This was like a sheep walking into a tiger's mouth. It was clearly sending itself to its death. In an instant, it was sucked into the whirlpool's core and killed by the violent whirlpool's power. Die! Xiaoping clenched his fist. Countless acupoints, stellar energy, surged violently and poured into his fist, forming an ultimate whirlpool that was slowly transmitted into the slime tribe leader. Even though the slime tribe leader was in a gelatinous state, the whirlpool's power passed through its body and directly penetrated its essence. Any constitution would be useless against the whirlpool's power. It immediately let out a miserable shriek. With a snapping sound, a powerful wave of energy seeped in, immediately shattering the slime tribe leader's core. Its entire soul was shattered into pieces.